this is one where we all go like that bottom area, and I hold the window.
Or we're all main gate, and then and you need to scan every one of these rooms, Dross, and then scan this one as well.
Yeah,
all right,
I got it.
There's a shield behind this, which is even better for us. BTK, you're holding this whole hallway from like one of these corners.
The guard dog gameplay.
BTK, careful the lurk on this as well.
Side flank, but BTK Master is waiting for it. He keeps looking over in that direction, but hadn't spotted him.
And then me, Gunner, and Drass, we are making our way to this room. We have to cross in the open of this, but Suppress should be holding it.
I'm about to start scanning left side. Are we good?
You guys ready?
I'm nading this room.
I'm ready.
Careful, don't go in there. I don't see anything in there. I'm holding.
And then we have to clear this whole hallway. There's nothing really to play behind. If there's a guy with a shield, we need to use util, because like we can't just run it in or we'll die. Get a smoke on the crypt. Even if you go down, just plant the decryptor.
It's barricaded.
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better. Break this.
I'm nading.
Are you ready to nade this?
Yeah.
Yeah, break.
Got one.
Good.
Nice.
I'm in.
I need a baddie.
Left is clear. Left is clear.
What's in there? My ping.
Blue zone nade's gonna come out, but we haven't seen Gunner be able to get in and get into a plant just quite yet.
You can't see from that angle. Come to me. Come to me.
Bomb going down.
You have a Maddie, bro?
Yeah, here.
Just play time if you can.
A lot of work there.
We're good, bro. We're good.
Even though Venerated's the one that's going to come up with kills.
Nice.
I got it. We got it. Bro. We're good. We're good.
So we want mine as well.
On me right. Come here. How are you losing that? Jesus, Sap. Get a grip. You need to go get a job, Gunner. You're holding it.
Oh my god.
Welcome in, everyone, or welcome back if you did join us earlier. I'm Mark Power. I'm joined by the amazing Felix. This is PUBG BLINDSPOT's NA Invitational. I'm glad to be back. I had a very quick time to eat, drink, get geared up, check out these players because they are super stacked. Felix, have you had a chance to have a quick look at the NA team lineup?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we said the EU Invitational was going to be stacked. I think the same can be said about the NA teams that we have at hand here. Lots of professional esports players, lots of professional esports players that also have played this game already, so I think it's going to be equally exciting.
It is going to be exciting, but before we get into things, I've got to introduce two amazing people. Well, two amazing casters, should we say. Let's bring in Gibson and Whippet, the pros that know it all. They're actually arguably going to do us a bit more favour this time, fellas, because there is a super stacked lineup, Gibson, from your neck of the woods.
You know what? We've got a full team, so everyone knows. I think we can say it once. Whippet and I also work inside the Rainbow Six scene, and we've got a team of people from that world. Of course, Super, a former professional player, the former general manager of Sonics, which is worth keeping an eye on today with some Sonics players and Sonics staff getting involved. They're going to be really fun to watch with. But I think that I've been watching it with a Super stream. I thought they were going to be super tactical going into this. I think they're just going into today to feel things out.
Listen, Gibby, if there's anything to follow how his recent team's running competitions have been, I have a feeling it might just be, as you mentioned, just run in and try and get the job done best you can for it. But that is a very exciting aspect going into it, and that's actually one that I'm really intrigued with, just for the fact of course, their experience as professional players from another title of a very similar type. Are they going to be able to understand that utility game to a very high level? That's what we saw teams when they had success in the EMEA be able to do when they use that utility to the maximum. A massive benefit of using utility is works better on the offense/defense. I have a feeling that side Super's team might just be able to make that one work for them if they decide to use utility at all and not just run in.
Right, you two, enough of your bit. But look, come on, let's talk about some of these PUBG players here, Felix. Oh my days.
Oh, yes.
Kickstart team is super stacked. Tyrant, Gunner, Purdy, the makeshift child that has become the beast. Team number 6 looking strong. Bunts in here, Adams. There is a huge lineup from the PUBG. Forget about them not talking about the Rainbow Six people. And obviously Sonics, but this could be a big throwdown when it comes down to maybe a little bit more of a PUBG versus Rainbow Six strategy for PUBG Blind Spots.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's going to be a fight for honor as well. I mean, disregard the prize pool. I think that's what it's ultimately going to come down to, right? Losing your own IP, essentially, is the worst thing that could potentially happen. So I'm hoping Team 2 especially is prepared in detail for this tournament today. And as you said, right, Kickstarter, Cowboy, Roth, these guys, they're known players in the PUBG scene, Relu obviously as well. They've got a lot of experience, a lot of professional experience as well. So it would be surprising to say the least. And we've seen Kickstarter play especially. It would be surprising to the least if they wouldn't be able to at least put up a good fight.
Well, that's all the teams there, all the players. We're going to see more of them. But what is going on this evening and a little bit later on, tomorrow, actually, technically for you guys now in the NA? Well, we have our first day for the NA Invitationals kicking off. We have a best of one. So all of these teams are going to play each other once over, where we'll be going for an attack and defend model. We get points on the board. Once we round up who's got the most wins, who's got the most losses, we may whip it, have another decider map that we obviously had earlier in the EU Invitational. But just tell people how quick this format is.
This format is incredibly quick. We went through 6 games in what felt like a blink of an eye earlier for EMEA going into this one. The format of these matchups is incredibly quick. The rounds, the action, every match is so quick. And this best of ones, it feels like you just run through these games incredibly quickly. That does get me excited, though. I might look a little bit to the future here, because we've got best of 3s coming tomorrow, going into the semi-finals and quarterfinals. I am very intrigued to see how those line up. But best of 1 so far, it's been a kind of a blink and you miss it moment for this one, and that means teams that start off strong are going to be the ones that benefit the most out of it.
It definitely is a blink if you miss today, that best of 1. I think we will have a big impact. We saw it from EU, even from the first game of the EU Invitational to the last couple of games of EU. It felt like a little bit of a difference in style. Obviously with PUBG Blind Spot, it's a top-down approach. We've got an attack and defend. I'm the boring one, I know. I do favour the defending side, Gibson. I think they get off to the win, and most of the time, they're the ones that are going to be the one holding down the victory. Can you see the same? Do you think we're going to have a very strong defending in the NA side of the Invitational?
I think when you've got a new game like this, it is always going to be way more heavily defender-sided as attackers get their mind around how's the best way to attack, how to clear space. As the game develops and progresses and picks up more, you'll see teams get better and better at attacking, while the defenders should also learn how to play the map more. Like, we had a big talk earlier about the best way to utilize the lineup of characters inside the game to defend the sites. I even think that in the couple of hours that this broadcast lasts, you will see these teams develop a lot and improve their gameplay a lot over the next few games as well.
Well, it's not just the gameplay, it's even looking at the characters. We obviously, from the last invitation that happened about 3 months ago, guys, to now, there's been a change in game, change in style. Obviously, the players have got the ability to pick a character. Before, though, Felix, they actually had the option to pick more than one of the same character. I felt that was a big difference a little bit earlier. Expecting the same in the NA region. But again, utility, huge. Being able to pick the right character for an attack and defense, again, huge. And as the guys already said, it did develop over the evening, I felt, in the EU time. I'm expecting the same in NA. What about you?
Yeah, I'm expecting exactly the same. I think the new characters right now that have been added into the game, Kayak and Fence namely, I think they're going to be picked here. Maybe even a little bit more so than on the EU side, because I always feel like the NA region, might just be me that thinks this, but I always felt like they're very eager to try new things, maybe more so than the European side, especially when we look back at how these teams have practiced throughout the last couple of weeks. I've seen a couple of streams here and there, and they were very interested in these new players, and you said it yourself, right? How important a character really is in this game with the gadgets and the combinations you can play off of. It's one of the most integral parts of the game in general. So I want to see Kayak being played a little bit more. We have rarely seen him in the EU side. I think there's only been 2 out of the 6 games that we've watched where he's really been coming into play. Phase, namely, was one of the players that used him. And even then, we haven't really seen too much. So I'm excited to see that happen maybe now as we head on over to the North American side of things.
I think a player, I think it'd be worth mentioning. We spoke about Fuzzface in the EU. It's got to be the NA kickstart for me, Gibson, because He's played this before. He was on the first invitation. He outperformed a lot of people. He got the game mechanics down really, really quickly. I'm hoping he picks up one of those characters. Obviously, Fence has been preferred a little bit more. I think he's a player that, with the M249 in his hand, plus that new utility, where he's able to kind of scout out and that pulsing sensation, really locking in. I think he could be very dangerous with this new character.
I think so. Look, we've seen, I think that Fence is by far the better of the two as far as the impact that we've seen so far. When it comes to Kayak, that automatic shotgun, yes, it can be really deadly in the hands of the right person, but I feel like people are preferring a little bit more collision at this moment in time. They prefer the Winchester shotgun and the traps that character brings. The one character that we've not seen at all, apart from in the team deathmatch, is of course the one actual sniper character we have inside the whole game, and that is of course Buddy. So I still don't think we'll see a lot of Buddy tonight either. I think that in theory, a sniper character is always a fun one in a game like this, but in reality, it's a lot more difficult to use a character like that. So I think Kayak, good addition. Fence, good addition. Buddy, I'm not quite sure we'll see a lot of it all.
I'm with you on it. I think the only map that warrants Buddy, and yeah, you've seen it in the TDM. Why? Because we have that long corridor in the TDM, that north side where they can actually hold it whip it. Apart from the new map, the shopping mall whip it, I kind of agree with Gibson. I don't really see Buddy getting used. You're going to go for the hinds, you're going to go for the collision, you're going to go for drop because you've got the gas grenades, you've got the util to be hold. I just can't see them pulling out Buddy, especially in the original two maps.
I have to agree. I think the only situation where I can maybe see it being useful, of course, if you have very well thought out plans for the defense, you can hold down those long lines of sight with it, even set yourself up further back behind it, but it's still going to be a tough one to justify.
Well, it's a tough one to justify, but it's not a tough one to get things going. It's going to be the warm-up round. It's TDM. It's over to you two. Gibson Whippet, take it away.
Thanks, Mark, and it's good to get stuck in, so we will be kicking things off with a team deathmatch to warm the players up before we get into the actual nitty and gritty of the game's format. But last time the TDM was just about players getting the hang of switching between headshots, body shots, having fun with some of these characters inside the game. But at the end of the day, it's the warm-up. It's just getting everybody ready to go.
Yeah, so when we dive into this one, you're going to see it's a little bit more chaotic than what you're going to see when we get into this one, as we dive into this one. Model after Winner's Mansion, one of them, from your world, from your neck of the woods here in PUBG, but this is going to be very in-your-face style of play. And if you're watching this for the very first time here, this is going to be the perspective that a lot of the players work with. Of course, we are working on an isometric perspective going into this one, and your vision is dictated, of course, what your actual character can see. You see those globes around around your heroes? That right there is what they can see. Their cone of vision is always visible. Everyone on your team can see exactly what your teammates can see, so it does create that dilemma of, do you want to play in a bit of a death ball, have everyone together for most vision, or play by yourself, rely on those senses for Gibby? This is just going to be absolute chaos going into this one. I think the biggest thing for this one is just getting everybody nice and warmed up to the mechanics, how things actually play out when you go into this perspective.
Yeah, and we've seen the star of the show, the M249 from Fence, popping up, getting the first kill of this one. But yeah, this is a feeler for the viewers, as you said, Whippet, to get an idea of how things go as Team Taran go head-to-head with Team Whelp. So, a few things to keep an eye on, of course, will be those blue zone nades. They're excellent when it comes to clearing space inside the game. The gas that we see the gas have an impact at times, but nades really powerful in this game too, particularly whenever you line them up correctly, because they bounce pretty hard when they hit some of these surfaces.
That they do. We actually saw, though, a lot of the times, and of course, you can pick the secondary utility that you bring out into this. A lot of teams have opted to go with 10 HG grenades, for example, just because it can be a very effective method of clearing a lot of defensive utility. And when we get in towards our demolition game mode, which is our 5v5 crypt game mode going into, you'll begin to see that, how that works out. Having a lot of explosions is really useful to clear stuff like barbed wire, like deployable shields, and be able to get that control. And it's also a way of being able to somewhat scout ahead of you once you get that control. As you can see again, the bottom of your screen, those blue zone grenades have been incredibly effective yet again, working in combination with information. Characters such as Heinz, for example, can bring out drill drones, which can get information through walls and let you see what's ahead of you. Combining that with a blue zone grenade means you can often not have to risk yourself to get that initial control, as everything's still popping off, to get used to, as everyone gets themselves nice and warmed up for this new experience of PUBG Blind Spot.
And if you want to get yourself involved in the game, the demo is available now on Steam. Just look up PUBG Blind Spot and you can play the demo there. And then if you want to keep up to date with when the game releases in full, make sure to follow and to wishlist the
Wishlist,
game
there
as
you
well.
go.
There we go.
Already on my wish list, I've been following this one intently. So we mentioned it on EMEA going into this one. When I saw my initial glimpse of this title, I had my intrigue sparked up just a little bit. And you know what? The more I've watched it, the more I've played it, it's got its claws in deep for this one. I cannot get enough of this when I dive straight into it. I know I'm going to unfortunately have to carry you in for a couple of games when we get back ready for this one later on tonight.
Nah, this is my world. This is isometric whip, but you weren't even around whenever I started playing isometric games. You weren't even a thought. You weren't even a thought. The original Fallout, mate. The original Fallout. And you've got me in trouble now for saying another IP, but it's okay. Krotha with the M249 with the headshot, pushing in through Garden.
There's some of those HGs that we mentioned, just sending out, getting straight bounced. Combination with that smoke grenade, toxic canisters go out. And that auto shotgun the hands have got are just shredding everyone up close and personal. We've seen shotguns being an incredibly vital part of this team's structure so far. Collision, one of our characters coming into it, does bring that pump action shotgun. Incredible at that close range engage. Also great at molding a map, and we'll speak greater about that once we dive into demolition. Gunner finds himself a second and looks to try and dive through this one. Taking his time, that auto shotgun up close and personal. That range so good. Unfortunately, can't make it work. Shut down by an AK pretty quickly.
Yeah, a few more kills to go before this one is over. Obviously, Team Welps, the CC team, doing a number here. Oh, well, just ahead of the actual pro PUBG team as Goon and Curry take the lead, 26 points apiece. Just a few more to go as Machine Gun and Taran, they'll play inside of Garden now, looking towards Dream Thief, who peeks across with that shotgun. The Blues only in the distance too. But I'm curious, as this game's about to end as well, are we going to see any major stylistic differences between the way North America plays this game, and how EMEA played the game earlier today?
You know what? This is actually going to be very interesting. On the outset, I'm not too sure. Now, to me, this is going to be a very fresh experience diving into both these teams or both these regions, playing head-to-head. Not head-to-head, but just playing in general going into... So maybe ask me that when we're 5 games deep, when we get ourselves nice and wrapped up for the evening from this. But I do very much think there's going to be stylistic differences. Of course, we mentioned it at the top of the show. There is definitely one of those teams that we think is going to have a stylistic difference. That's going to be Super's team coming into it, just because of their background and what titles that they've played in the past. I'm very intrigued. No personal bias for that team at all going into it.
No personal bias until they're actually on your screen, and then you're cheering on absolutely everything they do. But a few things I want to point out, though. We saw some players put up big numbers in that game. Kurt with 10 kills for that side. Kurt, of course, almost a world champion at the most recent PUBG Global Championships. Just a few points away, coming in second place for the TSM roster. But a lot of people like to make jokes that Kurt is on the older side of the player pool inside of PUBG. So I'd say he's another one like myself that started off in the isometric games. You can see that with 10 kills on the board, having a good idea of how those lines of sight work.
Oh, of course, Gibson. You mentioned that you're getting you're one of those more older players. Maybe you can remember actual isometrics. Wasn't just your birthday not too long ago?
It was my birthday. It was great to see. Got some nice presents. I
didn't get you anything.
You got me nothing. I was just about to bring that up, which is horrible. But I'm waiting for you to give it to me in person. So I'm sure you got a...
I've been working alongside you, Gibson, for what, 3 years now, and I've never got you a single present. All I've done is ask you for lifts to the airport.
That's terrible. But those trips to the airport are always fun. I'm not going to lie. But let's turn our attention to game number 1. So it will be those two sides we just saw warming up inside the game. So it'll be Taran's team taking on Welps. And game number 1 last time was a little bit cagey, right? It started off, I think it was finished 3-1 to kick off the day. But the defending sides inside of EMEA always came out strong. Like, I think 2 out of the 6 games we saw the attacking team win the opening round on attack. It was very defender favored. A lot of the times the defenders actually got both their rounds into the back pocket. Are you expecting that same vein of play because it's new, because defenders tend to have priority on any game whenever a new map or a new title comes out? Defenders get the advantage. Do you expect more of the same?
Yeah, I do. I think initially for the first 2 to 3 games that we're going to see today getting played out, I do expect a massive defense preference. I think going into this one, the big thing for me, of course, is just the stylistic nature of these 5 versus 5 games going into it. The defense have significantly less work to do on paper, that is. They can sit still, they can establish crossfires, and the biggest thing that we talked about, especially in EMEA going into this one, with the map environments being destructible, all you have to do is bring a shotgun, a couple of C4s, and all of a sudden, they don't become utility to get kills. skills or anything else. They become a paintbrush in the map, your canvas, and that's very unique going in this one. So I'm very intrigued to see if we see teams adapt into that strategy. We see them slowly but surely learning inside of EMEA across the course of the day. Hopefully North America can do a little bit better.
Yeah, and they would have the chance to watch the games earlier. Remember, this is a tournament with a prize pool that these players are battling it out for. One thing I will say is as the day progressed, we saw defenders get a little bit braver, extending out of sight. So the first map, I feel like we were seeing 3 to 4 defenders anchoring on the 2 sites. Remember, the sites are fixed on each map. We will not be changing. It is the same 2 sites. Some teams will elect to create rotates between the 2 sites so defenders can get from point A to point B very quickly. It's important to reinforce any walls that you're not looking at to push out to external corridors. So I want to see those defenders spread out, because with the utility that some of these characters bring with it, there are lockdown players that you can have on defense. Someone like Fence with those motion detectors can keep an eye on one site all by themselves, or even showing some of the shotgun players like Collision can hold a site by himself.
One thing that I always like to mention, Gibson, is those use of those motion sensors. Now, you can toss those out in one section of a map, right? And even if they don't ping, even if they don't give you a reading, that's also key information. And you'll hear this narrative from us, both of us, throughout the entirety of today. Information is king in a matchup like this one. It's called blind spot for a reason. You've got to watch your blind spots, and if you just know exactly where your opposition is, and you can read that movement from them, you're gonna have that massive advantage. It's why anyone that can give you a little bit of insight, a little bit of security, or a little bit of that knowledge about what's around that next corner is going to be so vital for these teams to bring and utilize correctly.
And obviously both teams can utilize the same characters, so the same lineup is available to the attackers as is the defenders, and that does change with some of these how these roles play out as we go to Heritage Hospital A for game number 1. One character in particular with it that got a lot of love for what they bring to the table is Heinz, but I want to talk about it, right? Every single character.
You want to speak about something?
I want to speak about Heinz, right? And not the beans, but it's when you think about the way
products are available.
Exactly. But when you think about the characters and their abilities, we're at the point of the game where people are going to start realizing, okay, this character, Heinz, is very good. And you know who else is very good? Somebody like Fence. But see, when you combine Heinz and Fence together, or if you combine, for example, Apex and Heinz together, you get a really good, symbiotic relationship there. Like sometimes two characters when put together can be even more effective than they are as the sum of their parts.
Combination greater than some of their parts, as you mentioned, as we time to dive into this one. Our very first matchup here in North America for the PUBG BLINDSPOT Invitational. And Gibson, the big thing for me, lineup-wise, is we got a classic addition to the defensive roster. Fnatic getting brought out by Adam. The idea here is you can drop a med kit, and the big thing about this is that's going to be a little bit of a safety net for your team. You can extend yourselves out. You can even try and get a cheeky spawn peek if you're brave enough to attempt it, and fall back the site if you've taken a beating and get yourself nice and restored. Across the entirety of A and B, one thing I'm going to draw your attention to immediately is going to be the openings, and that is going to be what we like to call head holes across the primary wall between sites, giving you line of sight from A to B, B to A, meaning that you can't just sneak in if you're on the offensive side. 4-1 split rotation from the offensive side, one player trying to make a solo push out towards the right hand side of your screen, everyone else arriving from the top position, and early damage done immediately to Goon.
Yeah, and you look at this lineup as well. Taran is going to keep an eye on Connector between the two sites with Gunner helping it out. Goon doing a lot of damage, but Whelps walks straight on in but gets traded back as the Decryptor will go cold. And we've been having a little conversation, but I've been liking to call this Tetris because with the isometric view, it looks like the Tetris shape. You like to call it Zulu because it's more of that shape that we've seen in all the games.
I'm sticking to my roots, Gibson. That's going to be a Zulu, and a Tetris is going to be a box in a room. An exchange of impact grenades and a HG to follow as well, sent out. Early damage, trying to get traded off from this one. Didn't quite mention it during our preparation phase, but the addition of 10 HG grenades getting used, and look at how much the offense just chucking these in. These grenades are going to be fantastic. They're going to clear away all this debris, clear away all these structures, meaning you're going to get a better LOS straight into every room, as well as chip away damage and buy space. You can't sit close to those grenades. You don't want to lose that HP, and so you're going to concede that control. So for the defense, they've got themselves in a position where it's going to be a 4 versus 4, and look how compressed they are. Again, you've got 3 grenades remaining. They can just chuck these in. 2 C4s at Hands of Dream. This is going to be a very capable offensive lineup to make things work here.
Yeah, and you've got that movement, the motion detector now in front as Adam will shoot it. The BZ will hold them out. 35 seconds left to go inside the round as all the attackers, except for one, stack on this other side of the map. Now, Invulnerable getting ready to sledge his way through the wall. Spots out Goon. Adam Dids is going to go for the trade, but Gunner gets him with the Winchester shotgun. More BZs double stacked inside of A, which will keep them out of the crypt for now. But Whip It, it's a very linear approach now. M249 rings out, but the P90 of Adam will find the kill on the blue, leaving it all down to Dream and Crotha. But a cross being held up at Taran and Machine Goon working together. Nade will get one. Adam spreads on out and gets the kill. And just like that, the round is over. But Whip It, do you want to learn some PUBG lore, PUBG trivia
yes,
with this
sir.
game? Taran and Gunner are husband and wife.
Oh!
And Gunner, of course, the coach of the Falcons, the current EWC champions. And even more fun, Gunner also the former long-time coach of Kurt. And I like to say it, this team is it's like a little family. Gunner was like the adopted child of, or Kurt was like the adopted child of Gunner for a long time. But it's nice to see a team of people who've known each other for such a long time playing together too. In the inaugural, I'm gonna say the inaugural Blind Spot tournament, but it's not the first. It's because we had a Project Arc tournament, but it's the inaugural one under this name.
Okay, you know what, Gibbs? I'm gonna take that. No, I like that little bit of extra lore going into it. Again, my first exploration of this PUBG universe alongside you. It's been very intriguing so far. Nonetheless, I'm gonna say this, Gibson. After one round played, I'm gonna bow down to my North American overlords, and you know me. That's a difficult thing for me to say. That's a difficult thing for me to say. I felt that immediately we saw a much more well put together, well orchestrated, well organized offensive lineup from this North American side. And well, I have a feeling that if they can keep that going, we might see this go level up the half and a side swap with everything nice and easy. He's going to favor the team moving towards that defense, stacking up, looking to get themselves some early access. And well, server room just around the corner from them. Well, it's going to take a mess of damage. Long angle held through that window via that vent case. And not a lot they can do from that one. HG is in retort, but no one's even close to BZ. Stunts the movement just a little bit longer. Minute 35 left in this round.
Yeah, BZ will clear out connector just a little bit, but Gunner with that automatic shotgun will throw an impact and doesn't do any real damage of note. Now you can see the Crotha will look to cross past that vent hole, which may get him into the line of sight of Adam, who's got to be careful because the C4 is about to blow that wall open, and now that gives Dream an avenue. And you know what? Just so, even though I think that this is Tetris, just to keep everybody in the same boat, we can call it Zulu. As Kurt now keeps an angle on that vent again, and Kurt should be able to get the kill, but he misses his shots and he steps into the toxic gas. Whelps will find the kill. It's a 4 versus 3.
Hitchy goes out towards the Krypton A, doesn't find any damage. Gunner might be in danger and is so forced to extend a little bit too deep here. Not a lot he can do, and Vulnerable will find that pick for free. An advantage of the offense now, 3 versus 2, but they might have skipped a step here. Adam's going to be able to find one. A trade-off there from Invulnerable brings us back into a 2 versus 1. This is winnable though. Whelps on a single point of HP. A single sprite from that P90 should be enough. They have to win this one though. Stacked up behind the boxes. This server is going to be a massively important tool to work with. Adams has nothing in terms of HG utility to work with, so has to do everything with that SMG. Creates a pathway straight into the crypt of B. The door held by Whelps could be a problem. Crossfire is there, and Gibson, I have a feeling this might just be too difficult with this cross to win. Sneaks into the crypt of A though. Are they watching? Not ready for it. Finding one. Needs to make a second reactions there. Whelps falls back and we shall play the clock here. And an aggressive swing. Time might be the enemy, but Whelps' rifle gets it done. And the offense brings us level after 2.
I thought he was about to get it, and I think a little bit of lack of map knowledge. He peeked left when the player was to the right, which had the more of a spot to hold on, but it's 1-1. The sides are level. We go to the side swap. Remember, if you are new to this game, it is 2 rounds on attack, 2 rounds on defense. First to 3 to gets the win. So this game, we're guaranteed all 4 rounds in regulation with it, and then if we are level at 2 rounds apiece, it is a single round to determine who will win the map. And but there's no draws, there's no points or lost for overtime. It is simple as you win or you lose. Very, very American sports with the way that the scoring works in this tournament.
I'm a fan of that one, Gibson. As long as
you're a winner or a loser.
I mean, my teams in American sports tend to lose, but they don't lose as bad as yours.
No, mine lose worse. We look. We don't need to talk about that. Like, you know, some of the guys that I know, some of the guys I know sport the Dolphins that are playing in this tournament, so it's worse for them. I can assure you that. But
a shiver ran down my spine hearing that one.
5-man stack, by the way, as all the attackers spawn in the same location. Kurt will be the front line, but you'd expect to see Gunnar not too far away, of course, playing with one of your favorite characters in the game, Carnival, with the massive hammer. Who I heard one of the people playing in the tournaments earlier. I picked Carnival because Carnival have hammer and hammer good.
Honestly, hammer is incredibly good. It gets you through these wall panels incredibly quickly. Gunner's going to be the one holding the cryptor, though, so not in the front line. Defensive again looks to be somewhat compressed out towards the objective itself. Dream stacks up by a connector. Early shots running out. Adams will be the first one to take that contact. And falling back, this is going to be the difficulty right now for the offensive side. You get yourself in the building, and now that mid stage around, you're looking to get that information. You're looking to try and find that early pick. As Invulnerable is going to be able to find that one. The arm's going to get one on McCurdy. That's going to be as a use of body in play. Massive pick
body
there.
kill. Body kill, I'm happy, but with no utility usage from body whatsoever. That drone can be used to find so much information. Motion detectors in place. The smoke will allow Gunnar to step up now towards 90. As Dream Thief got to be careful as he goes through connector. Wall has been opened now. Taran down to just a little bit of HP. That's been removed. Gunnar will play the trade though. Steps on and it's a full push towards A now. But the BZs will hold Gunnar out for now. Crotha gets the angle alongside Whelp to do damage onto Machine Gun, leaving it all down to Gunnar and Adam. Adam the Whippet will be able to get the HP up. He's using his med kit. He's back up to full, but it's a 1v3 P90 at the ready. Invulnerable takes a lot of damage, but they gotta play the trade, and they do. Invulnerable gets it.
Whips out the secondary. Job done with that one. And we mentioned a little bit that we were not too sure if we're going to see a body in play. Well, proven wrong very quickly here in the very first matchup of this, as the arm gets the opening pick of that one, and the second to wrap things up nice and tidy. The War roster, manned by Whelps here, single run away from locking themselves out victory here in our very first matchup in the North American PUBG Blind Spot Invitational. Gibson, do you think the defense can get the job done right here, right now?
Well, they can get it done. Defense, of course, has been the priority side for a lot of the teams inside of EMEA. They'll be hoping it's the same inside of North America. It's simple though. If you're on Team Taran, all you gotta do is win this round to force overtime. Remember how we said about how teams are growing inside this game? Look at the way Team Whelps have started to extend.
Yep.
So the spread out. Dream Thief is being made to do all site setup all by himself. 4 reinforcements on that quad wall.
Oh, Gibson, a feeling that I think we are also used to, both of us.
Let's not talk about it. There's nothing worse than one person being forced to do site setup. But I am a fan of extending the map. Now, Invulnerable will need to be careful. You're all alone. You're by yourself. You're the roaming defender. And all of the attackers have spawned over in this section of the map. And Adam has given a ping. So Adam he spots the barbed wire. Adam knows that there's somebody not too far away.
Playing, again, this extended roam presence is incredibly good at delaying time, and that's the primary goal here from this defensive side. I don't want to see them stick around to try and take as many gunfights as possible. The goal is going to be to get themselves back as much as possible. Motion Sense has been deployed just to get that extra information. They lob that out through the vent, and the first of what will likely be many hate cheats as well, tossed out by Curdy. Whelps does get the opening, and that's going to be a massive one, as we're going to see Machine Gun first to fall for this, so we lose that operator. And just with a minute 25, the defense doing a good job of choking things out with the time. Here's some mess around that barbed wire. Vulnerable in a great position. And will Adam check his corner? Tantalizingly close, but it's going to be a patience game, just not extending out. Invulnerable, though, does get checked, does get slain. Adams finds that pick, brings us level. Only a trade for trade, though, as Curdy's next to go, as both flags get themselves in this action. And the front line's formed. Now as the 3 remaining offensive players in towards lobby. And Taran will take a separate path. HE goes out. Can't find any damage on the Whelps.
Yeah, Adam steps up into lab now as well, but that needs a good one thrown towards Whelps, who takes a ton of damage. Single wall open to make that a head hole as well as they move towards Tetris. Adam getting close to the toxic gas, but it's a great usage of that utility from Whelps to buy time for the defenders. Blue zone nade as well. They're cutting off the movement points. There's 30 seconds left, and this is what we spoke about utility in this game being so impactful. Motion detector giving even more information. Taran, a little bit of friendly fire. Gunner will fall as she takes down her own husband. Come on, well, what did you say, Whippet? Whenever a spouse dies, the first person you should always be looking at as a suspect is the other spouse. I'm not gonna lie.
We call that a Corey where we come from, Gibson. It's all down to this 3 seconds, and it's gonna be, well, an act of desperation. It will be Dream who just sits and runs down the clock long enough to find victory, as Welp's roster is the first Dawn victory here in North America.
Yeah, they get the win. Comfortable at that. A 3-1 victory as we follow the trend that we saw in EMEA earlier on today. Big game from Adam, 10 kills, but I think Adam will be looking over his shoulder at his teammates going, I need a bit of help, guys. He had more kills than the rest of his team combined. In fact, he had double the kills of the rest of his team combined. That's what we call a hard carry. And you know who else carries a broadcast? The desk. Let's jump out and we'll bring in Mark and Felix to talk about game number 1.
Bring in? We'll bring you in if you want. Let's talk about it. It's
Okay,
game number
hello.
1. You ain't going anywhere. You dubbed yourself on that one. You had the opportunity for the break, but let's quickly talk. The first time, Felix, we got to see Fence and Kayak in the same map multiple times. I think the NA have been sneaky. They was watching the EU Invitational, and then they were like, hey, let's give it a go, Felix. Felix told me to give it a go.
I mean, there's reasons for it, right? Both these characters do have not only very unique edges, but also very unique guns. I was saying it before, right? Kayak, when we saw the TDM as well just a couple of minutes ago, how strong of a weapon that really is. Automatic shotgun, we've been talking about during the last Invitational, the entirety of the tournament, essentially, that it's such a strong weapon, shotguns in and of itself, when it comes to a top-down shooter like this, especially on defense. And now there's a character in there that not only has a shotgun, he's got an automatic shotgun as well, and it not only shoots incredibly fast, it shoots incredibly accurate. So I mean, there's barely any downsides to it. So I was very surprised to not see it being used a little bit more on the EU side. And the same could be said about Buddy, right? We said in the pre-show, right? Buddy hasn't been played in the EU Invitational up until this point, but that wasn't the case a couple of weeks ago. A couple of weeks ago, Buddy has indeed been played. I think we saw Pixelic, for example, one of the standout players that every once in a while did pick Buddy, and that's why also I'm not too surprised to see it right now. It can be an incredibly easy way to counter Buddy, right? So you can crouch, and essentially it's going to be tough for you to get that one shot. But if you're not up to speed on how to really counter that Buddy character, I think you'll find yourself in plenty of great positions, especially on the defensive side, to maybe get a pick or two.
This is where we get to look at some highlights. And for people that haven't played this game, as the guys mentioned, get yourself onto Steam. Make sure you download the PUBG BLINDSPOT demo, and also make sure you hit the wishlist, the main game. You've got to remember, as you're looking top down, this is not just the observer view, guys and girls. This is how the game is played. So that axis is obviously very different. A character like Buddy, we just talked about the pre-show, didn't see it too much and didn't expect to see it, but actually coming out back-to-back games gives you more depth. You can lift up your cursor, you can scroll your mouse up, you can look for those headshots, and not just the distance of the shot. You've got to remember, it's called blind spot for a reason, Felix. The fact that we've got Buddy that can actually see halfway across the map, if it's got a clean line of sight, is huge, because at the moment Buddy gains the information, it's shared amongst the rest of the team, and then they're able to kind of adjust, especially from a defensive point of view, the repositioning and making sure they're stopping these attackers breaching in.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said as well, right, it really depends on the kind of map that we're playing, but also much more on the side of whether or not we're going to see Buddy. Maybe another time during the remaining games that we have at hand. But something else also we haven't really touched on yet, and I think the caster did very briefly, was Adam's performance. I mean, Gibson said at the very start of the EU invitation, right? He sees a P90, he wants to pick it up. Adam thought the same thing, and it worked out perfectly for him. 10 frags, that's 10 more than I think what Purdy Curdy had at the end of this game. I mean, that just goes to show you, wherever he was, there was danger that followed him. And one big reason why I'm actually kind of surprised on the outcome here, because he didn't only seem to get 10 frags, he seemed to get it at the start of the rounds most of the times as well. So he was a very integral part of opening up a round for them. And that's usually, especially on the attacking side, one of the most difficult things you can have in a game like this. And that ultimately didn't work out in their favor, despite that happening, and despite him getting 10 frags. Once again, very surprising to me.
Let's talk about performance because nice transition from the production team. Kick versus Super versus Kickstart. Sorry, 3-1 victory there, and actually quite surprised. Like Relo not getting able to get any kills, not quite right. Actually, that team being held up by a young gunner called Cowboy, an insane gunner in PUBG. We got a 3-2 as well with Tech Gaming and K-Mind. Obviously, we've got three teams already putting themselves underneath the belt from a victory point of view. But it is the first game. Every one of these teams, folks, has to go head to head with each other because we have to eventually get down to a point where we know who first and second, because they're going to get a slight bye tomorrow into the semi-finals, whereas everyone else is going to be sort of drumming it out from the quarters. But it's going to be single elimination, but in a best of three, which I think is going to have a bigger impact. So a few early gunners here, a few teams and a few individual players really highlighting what the NA has to bring.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm surprised just looking at the leaderboard right now, right? Kickstart, K-Mine, Terran, these are teams with very experienced PUBG players. They've played the game as well through the last weeks. I'm sure of it. I've seen plenty of that streams. I've seen these guys do it privately as well, off stream, trying to get ahead of the opposition, and seeing them all towards the bottom of the leaderboard right now, I gotta say, that's surprising to say the least, especially Kickstart with his performance in the original ARC tournament that we've seen. We'll see if it stays that way. I'd be surprised once again. I think these guys are way better than what the story of the leaderboard suggests right now. But still, that's not the kind of showing you want to have going into this tournament.
No, not at all. And this is what we're playing for. Both the EU and the NA are fighting themselves out for a huge line share of the prize pool. But it's that first and second spot everyone really wants to get. From third down to sixth, obviously, it's a participation, but you still get money in your back pocket. Everyone will be driving it. And if we bring ourselves back to Kickstart, Felix, for me, he was in the first Invitational. How good was the team? It was outstanding. It was the trash talking. It was the aggressive play and the ability to switch between a very aggressive offensive style. And I think if we talk about the characters, Heinz that was the first time we really saw Heinz and the Blue Zone nades kind of being merged together. He'd put that camera through the wall, and it was Kickstart's team last time, which was, I think, one of the driving forces for that. It seems to now be the normal trend, and I'm quite surprised, especially when I look at the board. Cowboy rinsed all the kills, and unfortunately for Kickstart and the guys, they suffered the first loss.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of everyone learning as they go. And I said this before as well in a top-down shooter like this, where essentially if you spot someone, most of the times he's going to see you as well, so you can at least have an opportunity to trade things out. Mechanical skill is really only secondary to strategy, to gadget use, to utility usage, and so on and so forth. So I think maybe at the very start it's been the opposite way around, and they had the advantage based off of that. And now they kind of have to adapt a little bit more as everyone else is, gathering experience throughout not only the last tournament, throughout the weeks leading up to this tournament as well. And I could imagine that happening and that being the case. But once again, we've said it a million times before, right? These guys learn from game to game, and maybe they've just realized the exact same thing. Wait a minute, maybe we have to rely a little bit more on actual strategy. Let's take things slow, not too slow like Podicudi and his team just did, but maybe a little bit slower. And I think I'm excited to see that happening in the next couple of games, especially coming out from Kickstart and his squad.
Well, let's actually talk a little bit more about Kickstart, because it's going to be Kickstart versus Tekka Gaming next, Felix, as well. So Kickstart's coming off a loss, got the experience. They're coming into game number 2. They need to deliver. Tekka Gaming coming off a win, actually a 3-2, so a very close-knit win that could have gone either way. I feel like there's more to prove for Kickstart and the guys. They've got to make sure they don't rely on Cowboy, and how important it is just to really spread out these kills. You need to get the team synergy with this game quite quickly, because if you don't, yes, you might get one player get some heavy kills, but you're not going to convert to the wins.
Yeah, exactly. We saw the same storyline that we just had with Adam getting 10 frags, still losing the game, and the game that Kickstart and these guys just did, right? I think it was Cowboy on 8 frags alone, Relo on 0. So, I mean, the difference in the team was exactly the same, almost exactly the same as we've just seen with the previous game. So, yeah. Maybe if that levels things out, maybe if they realize the mistakes they've just did and fix them in the next couple of games, I'm not too worried. And I think that's what's going to happen again. Once again, I said it a minute ago, I think these guys are learning way more than the usual player coming off of a professional esports background from a game-to-game basis. And I'd be surprised if Kickstart only drops another 2 in the following game that we're about to see as well.
Oh, big quotes there. Right, let's have a quick break. Before we do, though, let's remind you guys, get yourself over to Steam. The demo is now open. You guys can get yourself in. There was so much hype before because it was limited. It was secret skills. But make sure you go. Get yourself over to Steam, type PUBG BLINDSPOT, get onto the demo, hit the download button. But the most important thing, though, for everyone to do is also go to PUBG BLINDSPOT and click that wish icon. You've got to make sure you get the wish icon down because that's how you're going to be able to find out, more importantly, all the information that's coming out. Let's take a quick break, though. When I come back, as I mentioned, we're going to have Kickstart and Tekka Gaming. They'll be up for match number 2. See you guys in a few.
This is one where we all go like that bottom area and I hold the window.
Or we're all main gate, and then
Yeah.
and you need to scan every one of these rooms, Dress, and then scan this one as well.
Yeah,
Alright.
I got it.
There's a shield behind this, which is even better for us. BTK, you're holding this whole hallway from like one of these corners.
The guard dog gameplay.
BTK, careful the lurk on this as well.
Side flank, but BTK Master is waiting for it. He keeps looking over in that direction, but hadn't spotted him.
And then me, Gunner, and Drass, we are making our way to this room. We have to cross in the open of this, but Suppress should be holding it.
I'm about to start scanning left side. Are we good?
You guys ready?
I'm nading this room.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Careful, don't go in there. I don't see anything in there. I'm holding.
And then we have to clear this whole hallway. There's nothing really to play behind. If there's a guy with a shield, we need to use util, because like we can't just run it in or we'll die. Get a smoke on the crypt. Even if you go down, just plant the decryptor.
It's barricaded.
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better. Break this.
I'm nading.
Are you ready to nade this?
Yeah.
Yeah, break.
Good. Got one.
Good.
Nice.
I'm in.
I need a baddie.
Left is clear. Left is clear.
What's in there in my ping?
Blue zone nade's gonna come out, but we haven't seen Gunner be able to get in and get into a plant just quite yet.
You can't see from that angle. Come to me. Come to me.
Got bombs going down.
You have a Maddie, bro?
Yeah, here.
Just play time if you can.
A lot of work there.
We're good, bro. We're good.
Even though Venerated's the one that's going to come out with kills.
Nice.
We got it. We got it. Bro. We're good. We're good.
You guys in?
Mine is low.
On me right. Come here. How are you losing that? Jesus, Sap. Get fit. You need to go get a job, Gunner. You're holding it.
Oh my god.
Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG BLINDSPOT NA Invitational. Gibson and Whippet here. Our desk have not joined us. They're taking a little break. You know, them Central Europeans in English, they just can't take the late nights the same way us Irish can. But Whippet, I'm going to say it straight off the bat, this will be a fun one because I know that you and I have an affinity for South American teams no matter what the title is. And obviously, I'm going to be a little NA biased in PUBG, but you are quite possibly the most certified NA hater and NA lover at the same time.
Listen to me here, Gibson. You know, my home title, the other universe I've come in from in the esports multiverse, I'm a North America hater. Here in PUBG, I think I'm a North America enjoyer so far. It sounds blasphemous for me to say, but I can't wait for this one. Of course, Gibby, talk me a little bit through the teams that we have up ahead of us.
So, on Team A, we have Kickstart's team. All basically professional players, except for Suppress. Roth and Cowboy played together in the past. Roth was playing with Falcons at the most recent PGC. Kickstart, of course, part of the new Falcons roster. Ex-Sonics. Rello was the same. So, just so you know, Roth, Rello, and Cowboy are part of the same team, so they should have plenty of synergy going into this one. On the other side of the coin, we have a South American streamer team. I believe, if I'm not wrong, I've been informed that they're from Mexico. You and I have got a lot of love for the LATAM
That's
region.
That's LATAM North passion right there.
It is. That's LATAM North passion. But Whippet, look at it straight away. You gotta say, I think these guys have definitely played some 5v5 games before because they've set it up, they've got their crosses. The only thing I'm not too sure on is the single wall being left side between A. You know, that little... Never mind. Yeah, I'm not overly sure about it, but this is an area of contention that we saw in Europe being huge. This long corridor with a double door, with a window and single window in towards Site B. It was big, and PGZ is already low, but look at this full stack. It's a 4-1 setup from Kickstart's team.
PGZ straight away on that health pack from Fnatic, though. Roth controlling this 90 hallway, making sure you can't get that rotation. Kickstart does find that opening. Tech is going to be first to go. As we both Fnatics finding themselves head to head. That blue zone is going to try and choke out position. And Roth deciding not just to be on that flank watch, but they look to get aggressive as well. Should find that pick there, and a flurry for the offensive side, leaving us very quickly now on a 3 versus 2. Advantage for the offensive here. And Kickstart's team in a great position. Does appear that the Crypto B should be open to get this case down. Can they find a way in? HEs go out to sweep those corners. We got the benefit of vision. We know exactly where these defenders are. They might be able to try and walk themselves in. That's what they'll do. The Krypton B seems to be open. That HE should buy them enough space for a long rotation. This could be massive out by 90.
Yeah, but look at the pings. They know where these players are. Lico's position has been revealed by shooting the barricade, but with the decryptor down, Kickstart's got a tough angle. He's holding 2 angles at once, so Kickstart needs a little bit of cover, needs someone watching his rotate between the 2 buildings. A peek from Lico, and that'll be the end of Kickstart. It's 2 versus 2 now. 25 seconds left at most on the round, but these 2 defenders need to work in tandem with each other. Whippet and Suppress with the MK finds one. The hold from Rello is good, and the attackers win the opening round. But there is a little caveat to add, Whippet. More lore for you. Roth does enjoy the other game we work quite a bit. He's an enjoyer of the other 5v5 bomb defusal game, so I expect him to understand it.
Okay. The other side of the multiverse of esports, you could say.
So expect it. But look, I think that he'll have a good idea. And look, Whippet, it's a team ace. Our first team ace of the tournament.
Let's go team ace. Everybody get a nice round of applause for that one. The biggest thing I mentioned, I'm going to lean into Roth for this one. Now, the fact is that they want to get themselves access now here. This massive 90-degree hallway. There's a second doorway towards the bottom of your screen right now. And Roth was able to sit out there and was essentially given a very simple job. Stand here, hold flank, win round. Now, got a little bit of itchy feet, went in for a little bit of wonder, was able to find a pick off that effort. But again, right there, early judgment, early showing that they're starting to read into the fact they have to limit those rotations, and you can do so outside of the map, which gives you a little bit of extra safety. Tekka, nicely boxed in a little corner, will hold that position, and it looks to be a very similar idea yet again from the offensive lineup.
Yeah, Rex has to provide cover here. Rex has got a really important job because Tekka is holding out on Rex, holding the angle. Roth looking the other way. He's got to be careful he steps in. Tekka will eventually step out, but Roth is allowed to push all the way up the corridor, but Tekka will peek from his position, but a quick trade the other way. It's a 4 versus 3 now, as the defenders have taken a beating already. Rello providing direct access inside of B, as a camera will be sent deep to clear inside the corner, and great usage with it of the blue zone nades to buy some time, but Suppress will get caught out by Profi, but there's no trade yet. Profi finds another with M249, but we're down to a 2 versus 2. Rello takes damage from afar using the AK, but Rello's got the decryptor whip it. Rello cannot go down here, or else Kickstart is in a world of pain, and he elects to fall back. Get those med kits out. Get yourselves back up in the HP, because there's still 1 minute and 15 to go.
Well, Kickstart was somewhat selfish in that decision, deciding to use it all themselves, but better to have one player on full HP than none. A HE goes out yet again to try and buy a little bit of space, and a long rotation's being called. They've got the time to make this work, and of course, with the Carnival on the cable, they can use that sledgehammer to get themselves access through these walls. Patience can be a virtue, and that's what they need. Position themselves outside of B, and just waiting. Hammer goes out, that will trigger the sound, and that's going to be all down the Kickstart now. So many angles to watch, he catches one, he just read this in the doorway and does so, can't win the one! Rello on low HP, can't get it one! As Lecco shuts him down, a nice 2-piece and an easy defuse. And brings us back to level after 2.
Decryptor has been put down in both attacking rounds though, so even though the scoreline is 1-1, very impressed by the way Kickstart's team has approached this one so far. We got some results with it from the other games. I believe that Super won their second
3-0.
matchup. Yeah, a clean 3-0. I said that I've got them down as one of my favorites for this event, and I think Taran's team got the win as well in their matchup. Whip it. We're moving into the first round. After the side swap, we see Kickstart's team move on to the defense. Tekka and his team will now be attacking. And I think it's really important that Kickstart and Co. manage to get their opening round on defense to give themselves the chance to win this in regulation.
We've seen everything so far, at least in the early stages of this matchup, revolve around that long B hallway. Out by elbow. That's been every single opening encounter has happened and been that vocal point. The big thing I want to see here is stuff getting mixed up. Kickstart impact grenade to get those access between both these sites. I do like this. It gives you flexibility. It means that you can play that aggressive rotate between them. Not between sites, I should mention. In between connectors here. Extends the pressure you have. You can hold B from these longer lines of sight. And the offensive side from Tekka, opting to not really deal with that 90 hallway. Entryway from a different option this time. Kickstart might be the first point of contact for his team.
Yeah, that 3-2 split style of attack that we've seen over and over again as well is being brought out. PGZ and Profe will work down long themselves. Rello, of course, is in charge of keeping an eye on what goes here as he plays inside of A itself. Rex keeping an eye down the corridor, making sure nobody goes for him. Don't think we can call it a spawn peek at this point because it's gone on a little too long. But they're getting very close to A without any pressure being put their way, as it's almost a full turtle defense. And why not when you see Rello getting the first kill with the MP5? Nade does damage on the Roth. And the Blues only need clear space, yes, but you've also cut off your only real angle of pushing into A.
Double, triple stacking up blue zones, combination with toxic gas as well, just to make sure there's no real option to get yourself in. They got themselves knocking on the door of Bravo though, and blue zone goes out as well. Cowboy has to fall back to find some cover. The crossfire is good, but a pucker up moment there. You don't want to get yourself caught in a friendly crossfire. Cowboy does get one. The M249 saws through Lecco. And needs to find a little bit more chaos as an opening through the small, unreinforced panels of this wall as C4 goes off to open up this access. And again, that works both ways. Blue zone or smoke grenade goes out to try and conceal some movement. And they've got themselves a nice little pocket of space to work with. Diving in and through the smoke, Tekka finds one. A flurry of fire arrives, but no trade is there. 35 seconds. And a 4 versus 3 advantage defense.
Yeah, and they are very close to sight now, but there's 30 seconds to go. Cowboy is taking a lot of damage, but they're rotating round to B now. Window still solid, so this single or this quad wall is their access point. Tekka steps on and Cowboy's going to get dealt with, but Kickstart with a P90 gets himself a quick double. Rex vaulting on over. He'll take some damage as well. 1 versus 3. 10 seconds to go. Suppress with the MK. And the defense take the lead, and they are now on map point.
Very, very explosive conclusion to that round. Just scrapping away best they could for it. That crossfire just outside of sight. A very, very scary deed indeed. I'm always terrified watching players line up with that one when they have a friendly ahead of them in their crosshair. TK, very, very easily done. And of course you can do friendly damage to this one. Kickstart leading the charge though, 5 of 2 so far. Not in highest numbers of damage so far. That's going to be Rello. 400 damage to his name. Kickstart mopping up the scraps, it seems. 200 damage to his name, but got 5 kills for his efforts.
Yeah, we're seeing some players really put themselves into a great position. Site being set up again with it. I'm keeping an eye on how these teams elect to do it. One thing I've noticed is both of these rounds, the reinforcement from A has been done going towards the other section, or the kind of connector room between the two sites. So, not what you would usually see in some of the other tiles. You'd like to keep a free-flowing movement or opportunity to move between sites. They've gone for more of a bunker setup. Now, Suppress is holding the long angle as he steps in. The motion detector and the pings come out from Cowboy, letting them know that there's a lot of footsteps at this section of the map. But we are seeing all the attackers essentially stack up on the same side of the map. And I think a rotate or a call of a move might not be the worst idea. And look, Tech has got information as well as to where Suppress is playing.
Drill drone went out and didn't see anyone out by elbow. They can play with the assumption that's clear, and Rex will do so. Looking to get that access. Second one deployed in, and Suppress just dodging the radius. Might not be good enough to dodge this one. They know exactly where he is, and well, he can't work with that one. Great combination of peek outs there, but they can't quite find that confirmation. They still know he's playing close on this doorway. A HE should be good enough. The throw is enough to find damage. Stuck in that toxic gas as well. And PGZ, great use of utility. Combination with that Heinz camera. As Rek will find one more. Massive round for the offense so far. Kickstart, Rello need to find some more engagements here. As Cowboy alone needs to win this one and does so. And that's the case going cold. He's got an M249. He can rip everyone asunder if he just peeks out and jumps some hate down range.
Yeah, look at that Tech almost getting caught out, but we're seeing PGZ get the kill on Rello. Kick now, needs to get aggressive, steps on out, gets his kill, but PGC's there to play the trade. Cowboy with the decryptor, but he's going to step around the corner once more. M249. Liko is trying to step over. A HE grenade will be thrown, but PGC needs to pick this one up. The Cowboy does a ton of damage, but takes a lot in return. Rotate now from the defensive side. Will PGC play for objective? Will they go to B with 30 seconds left? It looks like it'll be a rotate towards A. Pings coming out as Kickstart knows exactly where they are, and Whippet, they're taking a breather to get the first aid kits back into play. But could this be a problem because you're leaving yourself really low on time? And Cowboy with M249, they line up, he does a lot of damage, but he falls back realizing that he's got to use time as his biggest ally now. 8 seconds left. Cowboy does even more damage on the PGZ. He gets the kill. He's just got to play time. 3, 2, 1. Cowboy. The disruptor goes down. It's done. Defenders win the round. Whippet.
Didn't have enough time to get that job done. Cowboy with M249 plays it perfectly, and they get themselves a defense victory and wrap things up in a nice 3-1 scoreline. Gibby, I'm going to say this, while it might have been a 3-1, a lot of those rounds, the closest margins that we've seen so far, and I think quite simply put, Cowboy needs to take a bow for that round on an individual basis alone. They should be thanking him for victory this time.
Cowboy's a great gunner inside of PUBG, so it's no surprise to see him stepping up. 5 kills, Kickstart with 6, the captain leading by example as well. But that is a win on the board for Kickstart & Co. as Tekka's team will take the L. But we're going to throw this one over to the desk. Mark and Falix, have a little talk about what we just saw.
Wow, wow, wow. Where do we start? Thank you very much, Gibson and Whippet. Falix, insane. I think we need to talk about that last game first, mate. Let's talk about Cowboys' movement. A couple of things for me. Great play, obviously, from the team, pushing back and getting the meds on. That was huge for them. Cowboy, I felt like he was chasing with the M249. It's quite a heavy gun to get shifting. But he positioned himself so well, not just to cover A, but also to catch him if they want to make the run for B. He was able to get the knock, and then he didn't even have to go for the repeat. He could just sit there and go, lads, you ain't got any time left.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I actually thought it was such a smart play to kind of fall back and grab the medkits. We've seen it throughout the game happening a couple of times. And I mean, you could tell from the game, play style they did and how they went into these rounds, that was kind of their thinking process in the first place, right? Play fast, play aggressive, have as much contact as you can, but make sure you're not going the entire way, the entire length, in the sense that making sure that you're not losing the entire HP. And if you only lose a quarter of it, no worries. You can just go back and reset the round. We've seen it plenty of times again that the time is there. You're not really in stress. The time until getting to the bomb site, the path you need to take, it's actually not that long. It's 20 seconds at max from starting point. So you have the time to do it. So I actually thought the play was perfect, but they've made their way without Cowboy. I mean, what a performance, right? His re-peaking ability was perfect. His play with Fence in general, how he utilizes that champion, that agent with the monitoring gadget that he has and the M249 in general, was just pinpoint accuracy from start to finish. So I'm really surprised with how Cowboy has performed, not only in this game, but in the previous game as well. He's been the one putting up numbers time and time again. And this time around, he was actually the deciding factor as well. So surprising to me, he's not really the most experienced player in their roster. Let's be honest. There's world champions in there with the names of Kickstart. But so far, it looks like, after all, it is indeed Cowboy who's probably the biggest differentiator on why they win these rounds.
I do want to talk about this team. Let's stay with Kick's team at the moment because, yes, there are world champions on there, but there was a consistency. Game number 1, they came out and got the win. Again, it's rare for an attacking team to get the win first. But for me, the team stays. They pick the same characters every single time. It wasn't until they got a loss. It was actually, we need to change how we play. Let's change things up. Then we saw, obviously, Cowboy. He was with Heinz. We see those guys now swap over to defense. On the defensive, Cowboy then goes for the M249. So there seems to be a game plan, a game style for those guys. Obviously, Roth with a little bit of a change up. He was Apex, but then the second half of it, he went to Drop. Now, for Drop Down, for me, a very strong player. That M4 gives you the ability, not just for the close range Felix, but also kind of a bit of a buddy, a 50-50, that he could maybe get the long distance information and the knocks, but he could also play very close and personal. So I like what Kick's doing. They're changing and picking the characters based upon the results they're getting.
Yeah, I think Drop Down actually, his gadget is actually one of the most important things about that agent, right? Because that toxic grenade launcher doesn't only give the ability to damage people right away. So if it drops on your feet, it's immediately 20 damage being done. But it also gives you so much time in terms of denying others the space, denying choke points, making sure you can forcefully reposition your opponents. And I think that's also what they did, and what teams in general are figuring out today in terms of when is it really used best. And yeah, this is something, as we said before, teams are starting to figure out on a game-to-game basis. And right now, especially on the attacking side as well, where usually that's not really your thinking process, right? You're not really necessarily trying to deny space. You're kind of trying to force a path, rather. This has been used more so as well. So I'm excited to see the gadgets being used on both sides now, more to your advantage.
I'll talk about getting things ready. Super's team with a 2-0 victory. The others have brought it back. It's actually K-Mines that's struggling at the moment with a double loss at the moment. Don't forget, obviously, every team is playing every team. Today, on day number 1, though, on the BLINDSPOT Invitational, it is best of 1, guys. So this is where the opportunity they get to understand how the team's playing. Obviously, that will give them a seeding. That seeding will give them based upon, actually, hold on, where do we live for tomorrow? Tomorrow will be the finals, where we start playing in the semis and the quarters, a best of 3, Felix, and then on the finals is a best of 5. So it's very, very different. Look, one of the guys have got a 2-0 loss. They've still got more games to figure it out and try and work it out. Do you think it is down to actually the characters they're picking and the util they're using? We've not seen him yet. So is it something maybe micro that can change up, that actually can change a loss to a victory?
I'm not so sure, because as you said yourself, right, we haven't seen these guys, we haven't seen the game, so I'm excited to see them play now for the first time. But just generally, I mean, looking at their roster, this is why it's even more surprising to me, right? You've got Kaimon in there, you've got Hambina, Valiate, Wooly, Simply Matt. These guys are guys that really, really know a game like this. They're really strategically thinking guys as well, and this is usually what gives you the advantage. So, I mean, we're about to see on why that's really the case, but roster-wise, shouldn't be a problem.
That's why it shouldn't be a problem, but the problem is time. It's time to throw it down. That Well versus K-Mine. Let's get back over to Gibson and Whippet. See you in a few. I can't hear them.
Looking forward to seeing is K-Mind and his team. Another team with a lot of experience inside of competitive PUBG. They'll be fun to watch. Matthias, Hambino, Wooly, K-Mind, and Valiant.
Gibson. Muted on the broadcast. Shaking my head. Shaking my head.
I blame you.
You shouldn't blame me. Oh, you should blame me.
Yeah, you
Go on.
chew through my wires.
Well, I tell you what, as we dive into this one, of course, brand new map edition coming into this one. It's going to be shopping mall for this one. A very compact map, all revolving around this central triangle section. I'm very intrigued to see how this map evolves going into it. It's brand new edition for this as it gets shaping up for this one. And well, one member of the defense, Valite, very, very, very far away from anything as 5 bodies stack up from the offensive side.
Yeah, you can see that the attackers all spawn on the same side of the map. Matthias will be the first one to potentially make contact, but you can see that invulnerable, if he hops this window, will get into a bit of trouble. Now, Matthias will be the first one to make contact. Whelps will fall. Team captain dealt with. And now there's an attempt at a trade, maybe, as Blue will move around. He uses the rotate that he's made a little earlier on to peek, but as they look through vending and into the little canteen area, Matt will get a second on the round. The M4 singing out. K-Mind will find one too. This is an obliteration so far. Dream Thief with the shotgun with one of the new characters. Kayak will get a kill on the board, but the defenders in a great spot thanks to the good work was being done already by Matthias.
Job not done just yet, of course. Again, double stacking up here for the offensive side. Dream Thief done a great job on Kayak with that automatic shotgun, but the question you have to ask now is, if they don't have a Fnatic on board with them, they can't get that health back, there's no medkits around the map, they've got to make a deep rotation, and it looks like they're going to make this very audible from them. They've got crack open that barricade, and they're going to read in this one. They're going to hear the shots and the steps out behind them as well, and this is going to be a nice little crossfire established. They're going to find that opening pick. The MK is going to get that one. Hambino shuts it down. It's only a matter of time. Wooly with the MT49 gets it locked out, and well, a near flawless run from the defensive side.
Yeah, Matthias with a great early play on the extension, winning 2 1v1s. Did fall in the end, but with 2 kills, doing a great job for his team. And, you know, it's nice to educate the viewers even more about what's going on. So if you want to know stuff about players, K-Mind, of course, is looking to get back into competitive PUBG. And I saw the LFT tweet a while ago, one of the more historic names inside the game. Wooly, right, you'll love this one, but you know the way you and I like to work in multiple continents, right? We work in LATAM, we work in Europe, we work in NA.
Yeah.
Wooly is a coach inside of NA, and he is a player inside of EMEA. He plays inside a Nordic PUBG league, and he has a lot of love his way. I'm a big Wooly fan here.
Okay, you know what, Gibbs? I like that. I like my fellow multi-continent enjoyers for that.
Is that what we're going to call ourselves? That sounds awful. We'll call ourselves server hoppers.
I enjoy my ping advantage when I get into it. So yet again, we're going to see the offensive side stacking up in relative proximity. Invulnerable, though, carrying the decryptor all by their lonesome. This is where I'm a little bit scared. Now, they're going to be on Carnival, so they can use that hammer to carve open a path to regroup with their team. But if anyone catches them a little bit unaware, it could be a disaster. They use that hammer once, and it looks like they're trying to establish a crossfire here on Simply Matt. Simply Matt pops up, finds some damage, but very quickly gets beaten back, and he's going to be forced to retreat for this one. Might run into one here. There's going to be a car crash, as Simply Matt's going to find a vulnerable, and that's going to be the decryptor down, and this is going to be a panic moment. First contact's being made. Simply Matt finds a second one. How's he getting away with this one? Surely you can't get a third, and no, shut down by Blowbot. Gibby, damage might have already been done in this round early. 4 versus 3.
Damage done. It's Matt again playing as the roamer for the defensive side. 2 kills on the board. Valiant takes a ton of damage, but using the blue zones to buy some time to retreat. Now, as you move through this open courtyard, long angles of sight open up for both sides to use, and if you're Valiant, you've got to find a way to get back towards K-Mind. Of course, K-Mind with the first aid kits can get everybody back on level terms, but the defenders are rather split here with it, and Hambino trying to lock things down. He's got Wooly now is to help him out, but I like this from Valiant, using the BZ, rotating around, and the attackers have also called a change of mind as well, as to they're going to go directly for B now.
Well, so find one. Hambino's going to fall for that one. The reaction swing from K-Mine's not good enough to find that damage. And they're going to play some tantalizingly close quarters combat here, looking to swing out wide. The entries on that doorway are calling the funnel of death for a reason. There's only one member of that funnel, finding two. K-Mine shuts this one down. Dreaming to make a deep rotation, gets himself one, but shut down by Wooly. As the defense find themselves a flawless 2-0 sweep. We are one round away on this side swap. They're finding ourselves a 3-0 victory for the side of K-Mind.
Yeah, that's another good round for the defensive side. I gotta give a lot of love to Matt. Look, man has a family and kids, and he's out doing things like this inside the server. 4 kills on the roam. And the one thing I will say, and I you know, it's maybe against the side of K-Mind, is the defensive utility. Yes, they're using a lot of their primary gadgets, but the secondary utility usage is not the best. Looking at that secondary utility on the defensive side this time, they've brought 2 shields, a couple of impacts, and 6 sets of barbed wire. But will they use it all? Because I think in games like this, especially when they're new, sometimes people can forget to use all the tools that they have.
It can be difficult sometimes to remind yourself, of course, at this stage. Again, brand new release, and of course, you want to get into this brand new action. The demo is now available on Steam. Bring yourself over to Steam, type in PUBG BLINDSPOT, download this. It is going to be an absolute blast, I can guarantee you that. And for all the information, pop on that wish list. Keep yourself updated with everything going on for this one as we keep ourselves updated with our matchup in there ahead of us. 2-0 advantage inside of K-Mine. Can they get this job done on the offense? We often talk about how this is the more difficult side of the two, just intrinsically, as simply Matt creeping through that labyrinth out by long. He's got just enough concealment to sneak into this vent shaft. And they're only one wall away from access straight into the crypt of B. Some early damage done. That position being given away.
Yeah, Carnival being picked up by Matt this time as opposed to drop down that we saw earlier on. Wall now opened inside of B. That is, of course, vaultable. As the nade from Matt will find the kill. An explosion into sight from Valiant. Now, Dream Thief will get killed, but traded back the other way as Valiant has full control. Another swing from Valiant with the MP5. And Apex doing a lot of damage. But Hambino's got to get the site with a crypt. Never mind that. He'll use the MK, gets the kill. And it's a 3-0 sweep from K-Mine side. Big win from them. And well, for poor old Whelps team, it's not going the best on broadcast for them tonight.
It's not been a lovely day in the office for them. Simply a Matt, though, leading the charge to victory. 5 and 3, 660 damage, 23% accuracy as well. A massive individual performance, I do have to say, from that one. Commiserations to Whelps for that one. Listen, not a bad team. They had a great showing, I think, but what we saw from K-Mine was absolutely brilliant from them. They had a great understanding of what they wanted to do for that matchup, and Gibby, I think they deserved that 3-0 sweep at the end of the day.
Yeah, they did. Look, they played the game really well. Matt playing on entry, on attack, and Roamer on defense. Had full control of the map, but people who are going to say a little bit more about that one is Mark and Falix. So we're going to throw this one back to the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Let's actually keep on that point because Matt played so well, Felix. We was talking between us. Actually, look, he was going for drop down. He's playing that from the defensive side. The moment it came to an offense, he swaps over to Carnival. He gets the sledgehammer. He blasts his way through. He gives an opening. Doesn't quite get the knocks I think he wanted in the final, but a 3-0 victory and a well-deserved. I feel like Matt was a driving force for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. As Gibson said as well, right? His roaming around, him destroying all the walls you can see in vicinity, just generally causing chaos and using the grenade launcher, as we said as well, the gas grenade launcher, as we said as well, to his advantage was, yeah, pinpoint, perfect, to be honest. Just textbook plays, exactly how you want to do in terms of creating chaos and making sure the enemy never really knows what's going on. And in terms of his statistics as well, I mean, 5 frags, yes, is great, but his damage is even more impressive, right? Almost picks up as much damage as the entire rest of his team combined. I mean, that's a statistic that's just goes to show you that there wasn't really a chance for anyone else in that match in terms of opposition to really have a say in how this round was supposed to go. 3-0 clean sweep, and deservingly so as well.
Yeah, he was a big, strong performer. Actually, to talk about damage, he out damaged the other team as well. They just didn't have a chance to get into the game. I think part and parcel of that, we saw the stack up of utility. We spoke about this before quite a bit. I think we'll speak about this more. Obviously, the ability to breach in, and then those blue zone nades coming in from Apex is so key. It's one of those characters, yes, got the speed of delivery when it comes down with the MP5, but actually getting those BZ nades, those blue zone nades, into the right area at the right time, it not just stops entry points, but it also blocks field of view, give or take, and actually allows these teams to move around. And when you've got a player like Matt, he's going to take full advantage, though. I like this map. It's a nice one for me, and I love the util dumps that we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly right, as you said. We can see it here as well. Woody Hambino, kind of the same thing that we saw in the previous rounds as well, right? This making sure you're unpredictable. I think that's what these guys just did in this round perfectly as well. Always making sure you're one step ahead of what the enemy is supposed to think where you are. Always making sure you kind of disrupt the game plan a little bit. And I think especially against these enemies, it's worked exceptionally well because I always thought Blue and Dream Thief, that somewhat of a plan of how this round is supposed to be, and then something happened that they just really weren't prepared for. There was always this one player it was either Matt or Hambino that just somehow found an opening, somehow found an entry, someone went in a position that they didn't expect to happen. And I think that's what kind of disrupted their game plan in the start. And then in a game like this, we got to say that as well, just generally from macro perspective. You maybe have one round that kind of doesn't go your way. You have a second one, and it's almost match point, right? There's only so many things that are allowed to go against you, that are allowed to go wrong, and that's why I also love what we saw in the previous game. If a round starts off on the wrong foot, just fall back, maybe get a couple of mech kits in there. That's a very valid strategy that so far we've only really seen in the previous tournament, and at least up until this point, at least when it comes to EU region as well.
Yeah, it's the ability to reset. And obviously, it is a best of one. That's quite difficult. Obviously, you're right. If you go down one, you go down two. They didn't change their character selection, so they didn't give themselves the reset that may be needed. There's one thing that's also worth mentioning is how close that we saw the teams together. The abilities were, look, if one person went down, they had two, maybe three other players instantly there to react. And it's all about that speed delivery. If you can get a roamer gets away and gets a knock, then that's all well and good. But actually, if you've got your buddy round the corner, you're not losing information because obviously the player lose line of sight. But you're gaining it still, and you're also trading it out. So yes, you might take someone, you might lose someone, but there's an instant feel, especially from a defensive point of view, stopping the teams able to breach. Let's have a look at the leaderboard though. Obviously, as things move on, we are still waiting for a game to show and finish as this is showing up. But it's a quick, nice reminder that actually it is pretty close, and K-Mine's team, as we mentioned before, able to turn things round. Felix, any takeaways so far from the leaderboard or from the games that we've seen?
Yeah, I was worried there for a second because we didn't see this on the EU side of things, that someone didn't have a win after the first couple of games have been played. And here it did happen, right? Cayman, these guys were on 0 wins before the last game. So I'm very, very glad it shows us the exact same thing that we've seen on the EU side of things as well, right? Everyone's competitive. Everyone is able to take down everyone essentially. And with them getting that first round, no one's without a win so far up until this point on the NA Invitational either. So, as we said, I think it's open to absolutely everyone. We saw a couple of upsets on the EU region. I think we're going to see a couple of more upsets here as well. First one, in my opinion, I said it before, was Kickstar losing that very first round.
Yes, yeah, I think that was a shock. I'm in Kickstart camp. This is my team for the victory. We'll wait to see how that unfolds. For those that have maybe just jumped in and thinking, what the hell is going on? Well, PUBG BLINDSPOT. This is the second Invitational. Me and Felix are back, but this time we have been collared up to the desk where these teams are fighting from a top-down perspective. Best of ones will be kicking off today. We're then going to be able to draw the seedings. We're going to come back tomorrow, same time, same channels. We're going to go from the semi-finals and quarterfinals where there'll be best of threes. That alone, Felix, I think is going to be a big topic point we're going to come back to. And then the final is a best of 5. Best of ones, you said it already. If you lose the first round, you lose the second round, you don't reset. It's done and dusted and away. But at least with a best of 3, they have the ability to start learning and adapting to how these teams are playing. That could be huge coming back tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I also think this is why I think this game is interesting to watch as well. And I was thinking about this during the EU Invitational as well, right? It's really atypical for a game like this, for not only a top-down view shooter as well, for it to have so few rounds, and every single round, every single decision you do in game be so impactful, because it can be over in literally like a matter of 5 minutes. We've seen this happen as well. 3-0 sweep has the potential to happen way quicker than I think other potential esport titles, and I think this is ultimately what raises the stakes a lot. I think it's why it's so interesting to watch as well. And yeah, a lot of these teams I think are just now realizing that as well. But hey, we maybe have to take things a little bit slower here and there, and then spice things up when we really do have the advantage, especially due to the fact that maybe you have the advantage just going into this based off of on which side you start. I think that's going to be a whole tactic, a whole strategy in and of itself, depending on which side you start and which round you really have the advantage going into this matchup.
Well, we've already said it here. We think the defenders, but you need to let us know in chat. But before you let us know in chat which side's got the advantage, you need to get yourself onto Steam. Get yourself on PUBG Blind Spots demo. Hit or smash that download button and get the play in straight away. But the biggest one, the most important, is getting to PUBG Blind Spots on Steam as well and hit the wish list. It's going to give you all the information when the game's launching, obviously all the updates, everything in between. But for now, let's take a quick break. When we come back, though, we'll be throwing it back over to the old school maps with Whippet and Gibson.
This is one where we all go like that bottom area, and I hold the window.
Or all main gate, and then and you need to scan every one of these rooms, Dress, and then scan this one as well.
Yeah,
all right,
I got it.
There's a shield behind this, which is even better for us. BTK, you're holding this whole hallway from like one of these corners.
The guard dog gameplay.
BTK, careful the lurk on this as well.
Side flank, but BTK Master is waiting for it. He keeps looking over in that direction, but hadn't spotted him.
And then me, Gunner, and Drass, we are making our way to this room. We have to cross in the open of this, but Suppress should be holding it.
I'm about to start scanning left side. Are we good?
You guys ready?
I'm nading this room.
I'm ready.
Careful, don't go in there. I don't see anything in there. I'm holding.
And then we have to clear this whole hallway. There's nothing really to play behind. If there's a guy with a shield, we need to use util, because like we can't just run it in or we'll die. Get a smoke on the crypt. Even if you go down, just plant the decryptor.
It's barricaded.
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better. Break this.
I'm nading.
Are you ready to nade this?
Yeah.
Yeah, break.
Good. Got one.
Good.
Nice.
I'm in.
I need a baddie.
Left is clear. Left is clear.
What's in there, my ping?
Blue zone nade's gonna come out, but we haven't seen Gunner be able to get in and get into a plant just quite yet.
You can't see from that angle. Come to me. Come to me.
Got bombs going down.
You have a Maddie, bro?
Yeah, here.
Just play time if you can.
A lot of work there.
We're good, bro. We're good.
Even though Venerated's the one that's going to come up with kills.
Nice.
We got it. We got it. We're good. We're good.
So we on mine as well.
On me right. Come here. How are you losing that? Jesus, that's sad. Get a pit. You need to go get a job, man.
Welcome back, everyone, to the PUBG Blind Spot NA Invitational. It's an invitational because we invited these teams to take part inside of North America, and then we invited me and Whippet in to cast over the action as well. And Whippet, if you're enjoying this game, where can you find it?
Of course, get yourself on towards Steam, simply type in PUBG Blind Spot, and you can download the demo right now for it. And of course, Gibby, if you want all the live information, if you want every single update, put this in your wish list, and you can get yourself nice and updated for that one. And trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming with this one. We've been excited watching this game develop, even in terms of how players have been playing it across this weekend so far, so I guarantee you will too.
Yeah, and you know what? I've played some of the game, I've enjoyed it, and I've been keeping an eye on the community reaction to it across these players too, and a lot of people, they see a pro league future for a game like this, and I certainly do as well. But we are going to Mansion for game number 4 of the night. 5 rounds, potentially 6, depending on if we have a tie going on to the end of the night. And Whippet, this should be a fun game because this is like an all NA pro PUBG lineup for both teams. Kick, Roth, Cowboy, and Rello on one side, joined by Suppress, and then you got Matt, K-Mind, Wooly, Hambino, and Valiant on the other. You know what? For the NA fans, for the ones that love it, they are going to know every single player in this lobby, and I think a lot of them will be torn as to who to support.
And Will Gibson, as a new appearance in this PUBG universe, who shall I be rooting for? As a somewhat of a now a North American believer, who's the team with the most passion that I can be backing?
Well, I have played ranked PUBG with Matt, and I've played ranked other game with Roth, so I'm torn. I'm actually torn.
You know what? You know what, Gibson? I'm gonna make my own mind. I'm gonna forge my own path. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with Kickstart's team.
Yeah, they've both subbed to me as well on Twitch, so like, I gotta be nice. Look at Matt. We spoke about Matt. Oh, Matt.
No!
Right,
Oh no!
Is Matt gonna get a 1? He's gonna get pressurized. There's the eye. Hines finds the information, and Matt will flee the scene. The Cowboy might send another cam in as they clear room by room. This is great usage of this operator and should work in tandem. And I love that Matt will use drop-down's gas to just buy himself space, but not enough because Suppress will take him down.
That HE gets the job done, and that's going to be a massive blow to the defense early. Now, we mentioned that we've slowly started seeing teams on the defense extend themselves out. They tried that with Matt, for example, but the difficulty now is they've pushed themselves a little bit too far, and the decryptor should go down. Blue zone is there. Roth gets eaten up by that one. And a flurry for the defense gets themselves into a 4 versus 3 advantage. However, Decryptor is down. They got to fight for that retake. And now every bit of this setup, every reinforcement now works against them. The Heinz cam is there, and that's going to be Cowboy. Great reaction to that. Finds the pick on towards Wooly. And they're going to be a second bite at the cherry now. Look at the dive straight outside. Can't find one, but the trade is there. Time ultimately should wind this one down. K-Mind alone against 2. And picked up by Kickstart on Fnatic. Job done as the opening round goes to the offensive side. Big fan of that one, and that utility use at the opening of this round. The combination of the Heinz cameras with the just pushing in room by room was fantastic. The drop shots, use of the gas grenades, the fallback, great early expression of utility from both these teams.
Yeah, we spoke about Heinz being a great enabler and how some operators together working in tandem can be fantastic. We saw that. And then we saw a great rotate. So, of course, this is one of the buildings, one of the, maps with direct access to the site. So, as you can see now, B is accessed by that external window as you can go straight in and get that decryptor down. I am going to pick on something, though, Whippet. Defensive utility usage, especially the tertiary utility, was not good enough. I saw 2 to 3 shields that hadn't been placed. I think, Wooly went down without any of his barbed wire being placed either. And when you're defending a site like B with a direct access, you need some form of barbed wire to slow down any vaulting through that window.
Potential of 6 deployable shields getting brought out from a defense, and combine that with a potential of 6 HEs used to clear them. And it's going to be a different approach now arriving at the bottom of your screen. K-Mine might be the first to find that contact. Outside panels being opened up early, and a little bit of a mishap and some friendly fire with that BZ grenade.
Yeah, look, we've seen some friendly fire tonight already. K-Mind with the head holes looking to be a problem for the attackers as the cam will go out from Heinz, clearing Not all of the room, but a great section of it. K-Mine by the door now. Kickstart will open it, but K's got some cover. Now, here's the thing. If K-Mine swings the door, it could be dangerous for the defensive side because Kick is holding the angle, and you see Hambino is holding the cross as well if they look to step on in. But whip it, 4-1 split. Kick looking to catch out any lurkers. I like the way this is being approached by Kick's team.
Kick's job is to realistically act as that pressure relief as the information goes out from those cameras. They're aware of that pressure and they use these BZ grenades to force everything back. But the drop shot gases go out and that's going to be difficult. As you mentioned, from downtown, Suppress finds one. The gas, though, gets that trade. And I thought for a second we're going to see a flurry charging straight into that smoke. But it's going to be a long pivot downtown. No one's in B, but they've heard the steps. And Habino might make a massive flank for this one, but have they got themselves an option to dive on in? Roth should stick this. The cover needs to be good. Well, I don't think they know where the threat's arriving from. K-Mine charges in, but the Crypto does go down in the midst of the chaos.
Yeah, and Valiant went out for the flag out externally, but Roth will get the kill. Now, Wooly will go to try to stick the Decryptor. Cowboy vaults in, but it's a good bit of cover, but Cowboy will find a kill. Wooly comes off the Decryptor, and Roth now gets the kill. I love it, Whip It. How damn good have these attacks been from Kickstart's team? This is a team that you can clearly tell have played 5v5 bomb defusal games before. That call of a rotate was so impressive.
That was an incredible, great decision. That last second pivot, realizing, wait a minute, we've committed everything here. Every defender is looking this way. Let's get ourselves out that building. Let's get that long rotation rolling. And they do just that. But the fact is, they get that Decryptor down. They get themselves into one of the most difficult post plants to hold I've seen all evening, all weekend long. And they still find a way to get that job done. And a lot of that comes down to Cowboy diving in, creating chaos in the midst of that smoke long enough to buy time for their teammate to get that cover and deny that counter defuse. Oh, chef's kiss of play for that one as they now move themselves on towards that defense, onto map point here. They're one run away from getting this locked out in a flawless 3-0 fashion.
Look at the setup, the Whip It. They've got the motion detector and the shield covering that window vault into B, so they're automatically putting more stock into defending the site because it is essentially direct access from external. The attacking lineup is very spread. As you can see, Hambino, K, Matt, and Wooly all spinning on this side of the map as we see the gas being put out just to clear a little bit of space in the early stages of the round. But I like the way that this is being set up to defend. Motion detectors on extremities of the map to work out where any pressure could be coming from. You can see Relo's in position, Cowboy's there in his back pocket to help us. Hambino will step on in. Uh-oh, there we go. Take two, come on. There you go, Hambino. You can get that wall open. And look at the BZ straight away to force Hambino back outside. Great utility usage again.
That's going to be a massive one. They're going to trade out that BZ, just get a little bit of time and control. K-Mine looks to try and get themselves in via Shell. And this is going to be a great HG. That's going to force Relo back. And that BZ is going to create so much difficulty. But we call that a Corey back in our hometown. Kick starts first to fall his own teammate. And the defense appear to be in a little bit of shambles as B becomes a graveyard. Charging in is our offensive side. But that Decryptor is cold. And that recovery time might buy just enough to make something happen. Suppress looks to get aggressive. I think he's going to even get a heal on that Fnatic health pack as well. So Suppress back in this fight. And they haven't got that counter defuse yet. Suppress creeps in, looks to find a pick. Frizzy able to find one. BZ grenade forces him to dive on deep. He stops it going down. No, he can't. Just not in time. Cowboy needs to make a play, but he's shut down quickly. K-Mine's going to be able to find two with that P90. And buy one round back for the offense.
Whip It. The shotgun was not reloaded. He swung the corner with two shells. Didn't get enough damage to get the kill. And the attackers win the round from there. Great bounce back, but a huge individual play from K-Mind will take the round for the attacking side as the captain leads by example once more. 2-1. They are still trailing in this matchup. All Kickstart's team have to do is win this defense and they will take the win in the matchup. Now keep an eye on how site setup is done to the viewers at home. As we always like to say, Whip It, you don't want to reinforce offside entirely. It doesn't work. You got to create movement channels for defenders because you've got to be able to be fluid between sites. So Cowboy will go for the spawn peak by the looks of it by opening up that door in the early stages. But by opening up that single wall between both sites, if you're defending A and there's a pivot from the attackers or you need to fall back, it gives you the freedom to do that.
Gives it... I've done a classic. I've done a classic. I've just zoned you out completely there for the last 3 minutes, like 3 seconds.
Huge from you.
Tell you what, though, what you don't want to zone out is going to be this final round, potentially. If the defense get this done, Hambino leads that charge for the offense, and it looks like very aggressively trying to get that control. BZ grenade goes out, and that's going to choke out this entryway just for a bit. Gas grenade as well, measures that up as Kickstart finds the opening. K-Mine's going to be first to fall in the midst of that one. I wonder, are they going to be able to get that health back up? It's going to be a trade-off of utility. HGs go out for BZs just to buy that time. There's no rotation on the backside yet, and a small excursion outside for Cowboy, diving out through his barbed wire. Well, Matt, though, slowly trying to creep his way in. The Cryptor in hand looks to try and get this down inside of B. Charges in, but Cowboy can dart himself through that single panel if the opening is there. The Cryptor is planted, though. Give me 40 seconds so we go critical. Another team kill!
Oh, Ross, that's that. You need to be better than that. Valiant with a good defensive nade. Cowboy will step on through. Valiant, though, might have bitten off more he can chew as the AK from Cowboy will find the kill. Hambino and Wooly, the last two alive. Wooly holds off Kickstart, gets the kill, and now this is a 2 versus 3. Big rotate from Wooly now as he goes towards the door, and Cowboy's going to stick to the Cryptor. Pros don't fake. Roth will get a kill, and I think we're going to see a defense victory. Yes, we will, and that is game, set, and match as Team Kickstart take down Team K-Mind.
A 3-1 victory for them. I'm going to say this. Kickstart's side have been fantastic on the offense, but they did struggle in their opening defensive round. Unfortunately, just not having enough shells in that shotgun to make things stick from it. And, well, an even distribution of kills, except for one. That's going to be Cowboy yet again. Massive individual influence, being able to find success with that. And it's always fantastic when one player is able to show just how good they are with the end of a rifle. Very much impressed, personally, indeed.
Yeah, really impressed in that game, and I think that their utility usage was excellent, but we're going to throw this back to the desk before we go into our 5th and final round of scheduled fixtures for the day. We'll be back in a few. Desk, take it away.
Wow, wow, wow. I thought Game 3 was impressive, let alone Game 4. I want to talk about the potential throw. They could have closed it out beforehand. Gibson called it, not a full reload, Felix. Great push through and unable to close off that final player. Resulted in a explosive final round where Roth decided to take out some of his own team.
Man, so many clutches in that game. I think it absolutely could have gone both ways. And even that K-Mine situation could have gone a completely different way as well. And I got to eat my words to some degree, right? I said, this isn't really the game of individual performances. And, well, this matchup definitely proves me wrong. So many great individual plays. Not just the clutches itself, but look at how smart these teams are. The constant over-rotates, the constant fakes, the constant trying to gather as much ground as space as you can, even on the defensive side. Look at Valiant right now. This is a perfect example of this. Have you ever seen this? Someone taking the space outside of the map as soon as he knows the information is given. At least 3 people are rotating to B. We haven't really seen this. This fast-styled rotate, this fast rotating style from any of the defensive teams. So I gotta say, this is so far impressing me the most. And the same could be said about the T's. Once again, this is the first real fake that we've seen. The first successful fake, at least. And obviously, this map, the layout is a little bit different in that it is actually possible. That's sure one of the big differences and why we saw that in the first place, but then again, it could have happened on other maps too, and it didn't so far, and we saw it here in the end as well. Great team play, great covering as well, the way they worked through themselves through the B side. I think this is probably the most, probably the best example so far on how deep this game can really go, and I think this has been the best in terms of skill as well.
I think you're right. There's a lot to take away there. How we see someone play on the outside, Michael, not as successful as NA, though. I'll give him that. But a huge rotation. But let's not take away from the big point that was there. They faked the plant for A, and they moved on the outside round to B, able to get in, able to put down the plant and bag themselves. They were at a 2-0 victory from that play alone. I love it as well because it's not like a fast pace, like as in you can run really fast and hyper speed. The fact that they came outside to get rid of the sound cues, Felix, and move around in a snake line and penetrate through to go for that plant though back to B, I think was huge. The team couldn't react quick enough. And that was a prime example, as you said, how deep this game can go. Do we expect to see more of that when it comes down to a best of 3 compared to a best of 1? Or is it a sneaky play? Let's just get a win underneath our belt.
I mean, that really depends, right? I think that isn't necessarily possible in all of the maps. I think some maps, due to the fact that the bomb sites or the crypts, so to say, are really close to each other. I don't think these fakes are necessarily possible in all the maps. But what we do see here, and I think that's something that might just be a tiny takeaway for every team, is how fast you have to rotate on the defensive side, and how fast you have to take space as well that maybe is given to you, and as soon as information is passed of some parts of the players from the attacking side on the other side of the map. So I think these fast rotates, the fast space taking that we saw right now from Veliate and Co is something that I think a lot of other teams will have to take a closer look at, because it gives you that much of an advantage, opening up different sightlines, different angles, and making sure you can close out that defense a lot easier.
I think I want to emphasize actually how important your point is, because if we look at Carnival is only really played in an offensive. It can be selected as a defensive player as well. And if we look at actually the time it took them to go from A to B or B to A, they hadn't opened up the right walls. They didn't have the right path in through. Is that going to be as game develops? Are we going to see more people maybe opening up secret doorways, secret passages to ensure that they can get back between the bomb sites, between the crypt sites as quickly as possible? I think that's going to be more of a development piece for some of these teams. I think they just need to get the setup from a defensive point of view right. I don't think I've seen a team be really executed to perfection from a defensive. It's in parts, Felix, but I still think that was a prime example. They weren't ready to move between bomb site A to bomb site B.
Yeah, it's actually such an integral part of the game that isn't really talked about enough, right? Which walls are really destroyed and what walls really should be destroyed as well, right? I was kind of referencing a point earlier, and it kind of goes hand in hand, right? If you're playing on the defensive side and you have the ability to take space, then you can really only take that space if the walls have been destroyed beforehand. And so far, the setup very often has been for the attacking side. Hey, let's just cut down and take down as many walls, as many doors, as much as we can, as many barricades as we can, to then have access later on without, the time pressure of destroying these, without information given away. But now, in turn, that also means if you're playing against someone like Valiate, he's going to use that space that you open up for yourself and punish you with it. So I think that's something that's really going to, I think, go really deep in terms of strategy as soon as we progress forward with this game.
Let's keep on strategy, and as always, let's keep on the most important bit, which is utility. Fences, deployable little beacons were so visible on this one in the NA invitation compared to the EU, where we actually saw them deployed, not as a throwaway, as a, oh my God, someone's coming, I need to get something out, but actively throwing down to stop the breaches. They're putting up against the walls going, are they coming in here or are they coming in over here as well? I really like that. Really little miniature changes that are being made to some of these teams and play styles. But even that one little step alone, by putting it by a window, by a corner, watching teams rotate, they're gaining so much information to be able to set up a good defensive.
Yeah, I mean, this is a point that just keeps on giving, right? Not only how they use the barricades, but how they use the utility in general. I think this is one of the first games as well where we saw a double blue zone grenade being used and purposely set a trap for it on the defensive side to deny a plan. I think it was Valiate, and I'm not sure who his teammate was, but 2 blue zones grenades, picture perfect timing as well, and it worked out perfectly. I think the defensive side wasn't 20-30 seconds there. I think it was around 2 or 3 at that point, so they didn't really have time to really regroup afterwards, and it was kind of a round 1 based off of utility. And once again, I kind of referring to what I was saying earlier, right? The more they learn from game to game, the more strategy somehow developed by situations they're faced with that they would then the next time handle differently. I think this has probably happened to them before, whereas they thought to themselves, hey, if we were in the same situation again, maybe, take it back on how much blue zone grenades we already used in the start of the game, and maybe keep them if we know an execute is about to come, and then really use them to their full potential, which in this case was denying the crypt plant.
We've had loads of scores coming through, obviously, during the break, and obviously as we're playing as well. Super Team, obviously, still running ahead with things. They definitely have a plan. Gibson and Whippet were talking about actually how stacked this team could be and plan execution. Looks like their plan is coming to fruition at the moment. Tech will be able to get a 3-2 victory. I definitely feel like NA has been a lot closer, though, Felix, for me. Yes, we have had a couple of 3-0s, but generally speaking, we're seeing more 3-2s than we are getting 3-0s off the rip, especially from a defensive side. And I'll start to argue that we've had a couple more offensive wins. Actually, the attacker's taken the first, but you can't take anything away. Look at that, Super 4-0, unable. Can this team suffer a loss?
Well, we're about to find out. I think as I think, yeah. Actually, it's tough. I think as soon as I'm not sure. Have they faced that Kickstart already? Actually, that's the most important question. Have they faced Kickstart already? Because I feel like Kickstar's team has probably got the best probability in terms of taking them down. But yeah, to answer your question, well, we're about to find out in the next 2 games. Super, definitely the most standout team. No team so far, not even the EU Invitational, has had that storyline, that scoreline up until this point. And maybe who knows? They still got the potential to actually make it 6-0.
Yeah, to answer your question, yes, they had it. It was a 3-1, but that was the first game for Kickstart, wasn't it? That was their one and only loss. Maybe they had to suffer that loss to get up here. Ooh. No, look, we've got one more round, one more opportunity for tonight, potentially, for these teams to throw it down. We need to get the seeding right, so we definitely need to know who's seeding. One is tick. I think we've got that in the bag, all right. But actually, it might come down. If Kick wins their next game and Super loses it, it will be a 4-1 piece, and then we might have to go to the deciding game. Why is it important? Well, it's important that we actually know who goes first and second, because it's based on the seedings when we come back tomorrow. As we mentioned before, it is a best of 3, but more importantly, they get a bye straight away through to the semi-finals, whereas the rest of these teams, they are going to obviously have to duke it out for the quarterfinals. Do you think that Super's team's got another win? Are they going to go 5-0, Felix?
I got to be honest, with how they're playing, how the storyline has unfolded, how the score lines especially in particular have gone, I think yes, I think it's going to happen. I think that confidence that we're seeing from them being stacked from game to game, I think that's going to help them massively now going into match 5 as well.
Well, look, before we get into match 5, you need to get yourself on Steam. Go click on PUBG BLINDSPOT's demo. There's 2 games. It can be really important. There's 2 that are on Steam. The demo is a complete separate piece. You can click it, you can download it, you can start playing right now after the broadcast, that is. But the other one is making sure you get yourself PUBG BLINDSPOT. There's a little button that says wishlist. Crack that wishlist button, and it is like Christmas. It will keep on giving loads of information and the little presents that when the game will be fully dropping out. For now, we'll take a quick break. As I said, it'll be the final round. Match number 5. We'll be coming back with Whippet and Gibson very shortly.
This is one where we all go like that bottom area and I hold the window.
We're all main gate, and then and you need to scan every one of these rooms, Dross, and then scan this one as well.
Yeah,
all right,
I got it.
There's a shield behind this, which is even better for us. BTK, you're holding this whole hallway from like one of these corners.
The guard dog gameplay.
BTK, careful the lurk on this as well.
Side flank, but BTK Master is waiting for it. He keeps looking over in that direction, but hadn't spotted him.
And then me, Gunner, and Drass, we are making our way to this room. We have to cross in the open of this, but Suppress should be holding it.
I'm about to start scanning left side. Are we?
You guys ready?
I'm nading this room.
I'm ready.
Careful, don't go in there. I don't see anything in there. I'm holding.
And then we have to clear this whole hallway. There's nothing really to play behind. If there's a guy with a shield, we need to use util, because like we can't just run it in or we'll die. Get a smoke on the crypt. Even if you go down, just plant the decryptor.
It's barricaded.
Yeah, that's even better. That's even better. Break this.
I'm nading.
Are you ready to nade this?
Yeah.
Yeah, break.
Got one.
Good.
Nice.
I'm in.
I need a baddie.
Left is clear. Left is clear.
What's in there? My ping.
Blue zone nade's gonna come out, but we haven't seen Gunner be able to get in and get into a plant just quite yet.
You can't see from that angle. Come with me. Come with me.
Got bombs going down.
You have a Maddie, bro?
Yeah, here.
Just play time if you can.
A lot of work there.
We're good, bro. We're good.
Even though Venerated's the one that's going to come up with kills.
Nice.
I got it. We got it. Bro. We're good. We're good.
You guys
So we got mine as well.
On me right. Come here. How are you losing that? Jesus, that's sad. Get a shit. You need to go get a job, man. Right? You're holding it.
Oh my god.
Welcome back to PUBG BLINDSPOT's NA Invitational, and Whippet, isn't it great to be alive on Twitch on a Saturday night?
Oh yes, wait a minute, it's Sunday morning for us over here.
Saturday night for the viewers. We're in NA.
Okay, if you're watching North America, whatever time zone you're in, have a great Saturday evening for us. It is nearly 3 a.m. for us, but there is one thing fueling me, and it's some passion for PUBG
Caffeine.
BLINDSPOT. No, actually, I am actually caffeine free this evening. I'll let you know, Gibson.
Because you're allergic to it at the minute.
That is unfortunately very true. But yes, it is time to dive into this one, our final scheduled matchup of the evening for this one, and I can tell you this, both myself and you, Gibby, are incredibly excited for this one for one simple reason.
Super. We got Team Super, someone that we know pretty well from inside the other scene we work in, taking on Team K-Mine. So for those of you at home wondering who the red team are, Super, a former Pro League player inside of R6, then he became the general manager of Sonic, so yes, he was the boss
And
of
he's
the Sonic's
currently
roster.
a coach as well.
Currently a coach of Shopify Rebellion. Marmalade, another coach, analyst, and
Former
former player. We got we got Beezer Poker in there as well. Beezer, I believe.
I'm sorry. Are you forgetting? This is the
No, I'm
nerd.
I'm leaving the last player for you.
Of course, Goddess, one of the most story players. I mean, okay, if you're a nerd who's watched the other game that we work in, if I'm going to say the name Elephant Gang, you're going to know, you know exactly what I'm talking about from this one. Iconic roster going into this matchup, and Gibby, I'm not got my bias for this one. Listen, I know, all the PUBG guys are here, but I've got a little bit of my bias for this one, so I'm aiming for Team Super for this victory.
Well, they are flawless on the tournament so far. 4-0 going into the 5th game, as Matt will look to be the front line of the defense again. But look at K-Mind and Poker over on the right-hand side of your screen. 3-player stack as they clear room by room. Open plan living. Here's the connectors open. Poker does a lot of damage onto Hambino, and K-Mind needs to go for the flank. You gotta get some pressure on. BZ needed there. K-Mind does get the flank off. Poker will fall as Marmalade puts down the motion detectors. Look, they're going for A whip, but look at this with the motion detector in position. They're going to open up A. Wooly's got a huge job on his hands to stop this push.
Wooly has to hold this sentry, but Super's going to run straight into him. Super charges in and finds himself a two-piece. Massive moment there, and this is going to be a bit of a disaster now, as A has opened up completely. Marmalades at the M249 is going to open up and just send them all asunder! It's going to be a massive victory as the offense get that job done. Super wraps things up nice and tidy as the opening round goes for the offense here today.
Whippet, I've always said Super's an entry fragger. I've always said it.
His professional playing stats will beg to differ.
Look, he was on the wrong roll. He was on the wrong roll. He's unleashed here.
Get him off
3
IGL.
kills.
Stick him straight on entry.
Yeah, Super and Marmalade, though, 5 kills between them. K-Mind, the captain, found 1 on the other side, but a great opening round. And you know what? But there's just a couple of little wrinkles there that you saw that tells you this team are used to this style of game, right? The way they use their utility, like straight off the bat, Marmalade on fence, tossed down the motion detector on B wall, and was like, hey, this is free, right? You know that there's nobody in there. You slam open the wall. Super goes for the backstab on the other side. It was so clean. They didn't get the decryptor down, but they didn't need to.
Again, you only need to get that decryptor down when you can kill everyone on the map from this, and the defense, Gibson, look to be incredibly spread out here, and it's going to be a very similar approach yet again. Beezer actually is going to charge on in. Thought he might be able to get some map control for free. Unfortunately denied from that one. Simply Matt will get that one. And Super just bounding in, taking so much control. K-Mine should hear this. Super, check your corners! Shut down by K-Mine. P90 rips him a shred. And while it looked to be a fantastic opening for this side, they find themselves in a 2-player deficit. and a minute 40 left to try and rectify that.
And the best thing about it is they're using Fnatic as an entry. An operator who's got a support utility, but the P90 just makes it a difference maker. Matt now coming under heavy pressure from Poker. The BZ puts him down to 1. Valiant will find Marmalade as well. Goddess with the Decryptor, though, creeping close towards Matt, and will find Matt with the M4. They've got B secured with a Poker inside of side. Hambino will crouch walk his way close to the door, but as you can see, Goddess doesn't really want to push down the long corridor. Goddess wants to work the other way. And Wooly, come on, Wooly, you can do it. There you go. Carnival opens up the wall for the defenders. Pressure put on. Great blue zone nade will hold back the push, but another one thrown as a rebuttal. And Poker now will be forced to spread across site. Uses the explosive grenade. Does a lot of damage to the walls, but none to the player, as Goddess will take damage in return. But look at Super. IGL and giving full information to Wooly's position. Poker will find one, but he's going to get wiped out. The defense level the sides.
Oh, we get ourselves back to level after 2 rounds played, and while Gibson, it's down to this one now. Super side will move to what has been, at least inside of EMEA, the more favoured side. We've seen less of that here in North America, so that's why North America, you guys are getting some brownie points from me, but can we see this side be strong enough to get things locked out from it? Lineup-wise, I like what we're getting brought out from both these teams. The big question for me, Gibson, though, is can they get the job done?
You know what? I think they want to. I think Super wants to go flawless in this tournament. Like, that's what you want to do, and they're certainly in a position to do it at the side swap. Site setup, we'll see the rotating made so that you can flow freely between site B and site A. The double wall will be reinforced, looking towards screen left as you go to the other side of the map. This is a very, I think, I don't want to say the game title, but you can tell they play it with the way they're setting up this map.
You can tell they play in the multiverse of esports titles. A 5 versus 5 defusal game. Yes, you can, Gibson. As we move in this one, side swap going out, and it looks like it's going to be someone with a Wolfpack strategy. If they're going to hear the entry points from this one, and everyone seeming to make a swarm out towards that position, as they do not want to give map control for free. And I guess what? The easiest way to deny map control is to meet them at the entryway. As we'll see Super, he's cautious of this opening made behind him. Maybe he might peer on out. And does so, but only for a brief moment.
Nades will open up the wall or do a lot of damage to open up the side, as Wooly will toss down a motion detector of his own. Working out that Goddess is not too far away. Ping as well. Super realizing that there's pressure coming from Valiant on the other side. Super tucked close to the corner. Valiant with his back to Super, but doesn't find the kill, and Super will fall back just a little bit. No pressure, and Super's in a bit of a tough spot with it. He can retreat, but he can't go far. Poker will find the opener though. Matt with the encryptor in hand will fall back. Goddess moving back to help one, but Marmalade and Poker getting kills on the board. It's all down to Valiant and K-Mine, and it's Super in that 1 versus 2 in the side of the map, because the rest of the team were back on site, but it's a tough ask for these two to claw this round back. And with Super falling with it, what does Super's utility do?
Heal you.
And where was Super?
Not with his team where he could place his utility to get them healed.
Yeah, and who could really do with a heal right now?
Beezer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Beezer, by the way. What a name.
It was already placed. It was actually already placed.
Oh, genius from Super.
The technical play is getting brought out there, of course. Leaving us now with 30 seconds remaining. 2 versus 4. Motion detector, spot this out, relaying this in the long rotation, as that decryptor is a very, very far away indeed. Marmalade steps up to the plate and finds one with the M249. Goddess wraps things up nice and tidy, and gonna get us to a map and series point advantage here for Super's team.
Yeah, they just got to win one more round, and they will have gone flawless. And I suppose we could call this the group stages of the tournament. Remember, the top 2 teams get a bye straight through to the semi-final. The other 4 will go to the quarters, where they will attempt to make their way all the way through the bracket. Big game from Marmalade though, Whip it 4-1, 283 damage though, so getting a lot of help from the rest of the team and finishing things off when needs be. But this could be it. This could be the final round of day 1 for this team if they can do it. If you're on the other side though, if your team K-Mine, Whip it, What do you think they could do to take advantage of these site setups? Or do you think that, as things stand, Super's team have a better understanding of the way a map would flow?
I think this is going to be a very close matchup. Indeed, the biggest thing I would like to say is I want to see them playing a little bit closer together and be able to get themselves trades. They need to be able to get themselves in the building, and then if they lose someone, have someone there immediately get that trade. That nice little 3-second window. That's how I like things to work. 5 bodies stacked up all together. And again, you have direct access straight into the crypt at B. I think yet again we're going to see this Wolfpack mentality arriving from the defensive side, hearing, alright, everything seems to be, or sound seems to be happening from this section of the map. Let's get ourselves in position to deal with it. So they're not trying to leave anything open. They're going to charge themselves in, look to get that control. Early shots fired off so far. Marmalade with that M249 can do a lot of damage, but that's going to be a fantastic grenade. Early chip chat damage from that gas, and that's going to be the go button. K-Mine's going to find Super, and in come the cavalry, charging straight into B, but Goddess, the front line of that defense, finding 2, and a swarm of BZs as well, locks them out of sight. You can't charge in if you can't get in at all.
Goddess locking it down. 3 versus 3, halfway, or 1:30 seconds to go as Wooly takes a bit of damage now as well from the long angle, as Poker is not backing down. 4 attackers left alive, make that 3 as Matt is down to pretty low. K-Mine's bar had me a bit confused there, I'm not going to lie with it, as the smoke will cut off the line of sight and Nade will get thrown deep in, but nothing will be found. And look at the reposition from Poker. Do they know? Poker's got the off angle, and that's a great double smoke, but Matt will get caught out as he tries to step through it. Goddess had the angle. Matt will crouch walk inside, but Beezer should get the audio cue. Come on, Beezer, he's right there. Beezer gets the kill. It's all down to K-Mine and Wooly.
Traders there, though. The MK14 rips through Beezer. 40 seconds, but Wooly and K-Mine are very much separate from each other. Doesn't look like they're fully aware of Poker's position yet as well. Goddess with a long angle out towards B. Everything else, though, is Wooly's going to hold that cross perfectly. Goddess, a veteran of their esports, been in these positions many a times. Can they find success here? Goddess gets Wooly. And that's going to be the case going cold. K-Mine has to get aggressive. P90 in hand, can charge down to use that SMG. Goddess has got vision. Ducking, diving around the boxes, and that's going to be the victory. K-Mine shut down. Goddess with a huge 1v2 clutch and a 3v1 victory for the side of Super.
She is a difference maker. Goddess with the kills. Victory from Super's team. They go flawless on the day. 7 kills for Goddess, almost 700 damage, meaning that economy of damage to kills is phenomenal from her. And just like that, they get a brilliant day 1. They will get a bye through the semi-finals. On the other side of the coin, though, I saw a lot of things that I liked from K-Mine's team, but just outplayed. You know, I think that K-Mine had no choice but to go for that kill on the Goddess at the end. But she was just ready. She used her movement. She used the tech. She got the kill. And Whippet, if I'm not wrong, is it time to bring back in our lovely hosts, Mark and Falix? There we go.
Only for a very short time, that is. That was a good game. Flawless. Flawless. And flawless when it came down to character selection, Felix. The guys did not, Super's team did not change character. Doesn't matter if they're offensive or defensive. They have a game plan and they stuck to it. Maybe that is the winning formula to make sure you go flawless on a day number 1 invitational.
Yeah, I think good recognition. I don't think that's really a surprise with how great they've been performing throughout this day. And if you really take a closer look on how they start each round, I think we're seeing the first kind of instances of specific setups being created, especially on that defense side. We saw they really like to barricade that deep B side, focus on A side heavily, and as soon as that contact on B with that single player comes in, they just rotate over. But the initial setup has always been the same. Barricade B, focus on the east side of A, and try to be aggressive and try to grab as many informations on that eastern side and kind of just leave that west side as it be. And as I said, it works perfectly. It goes to show you, I think there's a very specific and very structured game plan behind all of that. This isn't down to just randomness. No, I think they've very carefully curated that agent setup.
I definitely feel like everyone now needs to figure out what is Super's game style. Like, how are they playing? They're not changing their sets. Everyone has to adapt to how they play now, how they are bringing it to the Invitational. At the moment, as it stands, I kind of am sold. Like, I just kind of put them in a top spot. Wouldn't mind seeing a kickstart versus them again, maybe a round, a duke out. Anyway. It does mean, though, we had a slight technical blip, but a lobby had to get restarted. But I said, hold the line. We need to get a game number 6. I felt like 5 just wasn't enough. Let's throw ourselves back to the amazing casters, though, as Whippet and Gibson would take us into game number 6. And this, though, unfortunately, may force it into a decider matter when it comes down to who gets second or third.
Mark right there, Whippet, doing what the kid in school used to do, going, what about our homework when none had been given? So we're going to get one more map before we go. But you know what? I'm not actually mad about it. I'm enjoying this.
No, I'm not one bit concerned with this one, diving straight back into it. Same map that we just previously saw. It's going to be Kickstart side versus Whelps Gibson. Initial predictions diving in this one. What do you think the result will be?
I think Kickstart's team is going to take the win on this one. I think they'll beat Team Whelps, who we've seen on broadcast twice already. And you know what, Whippet? I'm going to go even better than that. I think the Cowboy is going to frag out.
That might be one of the most lukewarm takes I have ever heard inside of esports. Of course, Cowboy is going to absolutely pop off. We've seen that every single time so far.
Yeah, but he's a wonder kid. He's someone to keep an eye on. And one thing I like is that we get the pings. Roth clearly telling the team what way they think they're going to push from. Relo the same, so you can see that they're pathing into the map. Will come from the top left of your screen, working your way in. You know what, Whippet? We need a compass in this game. We need a compass so we can really direct the traffic for the viewers at home. Roth with the decryptor in hand. They're going to open up that single wall as Invulnerable almost finds himself in a gunfight while he's suppressed down to 25 HP. Kickstart, though, will fall back with suppress and get him back up to full HP.
Trying to just chase down that damage on towards Invulnerable, realizing they have an opportunity to get themselves the opening pick, but they're going to fall all the way back. The defense seemingly deciding to form up their front lines all together around this B. B seems to be the most extended part of this setup so far, and Kickstart's grenade is not going to be good enough, though. The HE doesn't quite go deep enough. Drone out from Buddy is going to get so much information, and that's going to be Blow taking so much damage. Second nade might be good for it. It's just going to be a flurry, a symphony of explosions, and the opening pick, Suppress will find that one. As Gunfire begins to rain out as Kickstart charges in, finding himself a second one now, and this should be an easy plant. Crowther needs to make this cover work, but just stuck between BZs, and well, it's all but over now. Invulnerable on a Buddy, alone with an arm in hand. I think the Swarm arrives, and Kickstart finding 4K to start this one off.
It's a flawless round victory as well on the attack, and I believe what you call that, Whippet, is a flood. It wasn't a rush, they took their time, but the second that it was time to go, they rushed right on it, and I actually love the move by Roth. Once they get the HE nade and the kill into the back right corner of the room, Roth rotated around, opened up the wall, opened up the angle onto another player, and it gave them full control of the site. Not a single kill from Team Whelps. Let's see if they can turn it around on their second round on defense.
Well, if things continue at this one, that might be a difficult day in the office. Well, if we're going to compare things, North America, seemingly the masters of the offense here in BLINDSPOT. EMEA struggled with it time and time again. The defense often a bastion that no one could break down to considerable extent. And here in North America, oh, bless you, North America. The offense has been fantastic so far today in this matchup. So can that continue here? Stacked up, all 5 bodies charging straight in the game control. Correction, make it 4. They're going to send in that drone, get themselves some eye. And I love this. Look at this. They know what's clear. They know what's ahead of them. And they're wasting no time getting that initial map control.
Yeah, Whelps is going to rotate around and looking through the vent, puts down the barbed wire, just to buy a little bit of time and information if needs be, as the rest of the attackers start to clear B site. Nades being thrown. Now the door and the window has now been opened as the explosives will rain in. Roth takes some damage, but they're going to push over by quad. From the stockroom, a movement detector, motion detector will be thrown to get some information on the side. But Kickstart seems to be aware of something with it. A lot of pings, but as we can see, all the defenders have fallen. Oh, what a nade that could be. Whelps takes a ton of damage.
Massive damage taken, but Whelps is able to just about escape. Roth charges in, though, and shuts down Grotha. That grenade is absolutely perfect, and that BZ just chokes out rotation. But charging into the fight's gonna be Blow. Finding one, but shut down. Cowboy finds it, and leaving us now in a flurry of red in your kill feed as the offense find themselves 2 in a row. And they're 1 away from locking this out in flawless fashion.
It's just so clean. Like, those 2 attacks were so clean. They brought utility with a plan, and they used it. Like, look at the setup that they're taking this time up. They're bringing Fence once more. Fence with those 3 motion detectors can get tons of information as to where the attack's coming from. Relo, of course, on the Apex with the blue zone nades and the impacts is able to choke out attacks, as is Roth, of course, playing on drop down too. I like the way that the lineup is looking. On the other side of the coin, though, Whippet, the automatic shotgun being brought by Kayak from Dream Thief. I don't think we've seen the C4s get used to their full extent. I think we could see that done a lot better.
I have to agree, but the big thing looking at this going into this, the C4s don't operate like you might expect for this one. It's more of a set and forget utility here. You can use that to create a kill box, but more importantly, it's going to be one of those broad stroke paintbrushes to make the map kind of bend towards the defensive will. And I'm still going to say this. I like what we've seen here in North America, and I like how it's evolved so far across the evening. But I don't feel that we've seen teams take the full destructibility of these maps into account just yet going into this one now. Everyone stacked up here.
He's behind
Kick
you.
starts in such a great position. Just a little bit of trigger discipline. Enough, but no, can't find it all. Roth is going to dive in, looks to cause some chaos, but it's going to be a flurry of the offense. Find themselves in a great position. Raylo's going to dive in, get a 1 trader back at the bare minimum, and that's going to make that case go cold. Impact traded off by a double swarm of HEs. And Cowboy, deployable shield to work with, needs to win this one. He's the only front line holding on towards B itself. He's solo and alone, but the decision has been made, I think. Maybe reposition, maybe even regroup with his teammates, or a long flank all the way around towards his crouch holes, out towards that single panel.
Dream with Decryptor on the other side is going to rotate now to join Whelps and Invulnerable as they try to find the wall bang on the Cowboy, but he will throw a smoke nade down. And that will buy a little bit more time as the wall's almost been opened up. But with a minute to go, it'll be a push into site now, using these cabinets to their perfect amount to keep you some cover. Blue zone nade thrown. That'll do a ton of damage. Well, steps up to Relo. Relo needs to win this one. He steps around the corner. Relo does win it. The blue zone will help. And that's a kill from far with the pistol. Cowboy and Relo in the 1 versus 2. The Decryptor is cold and vulnerable in the back corner of sight. 40 seconds to go. But as you can tell by the way Relo's moving, Relo does not seem to be aware of where this last attacker is, but now he is.
They are certainly now, and well, the Decryptor is dropped on the ground. Relo locked into his SMG, just trying to find an angle. That deployable shield does work both ways. No visibility there. Relo's currently crouched down, so he's not going to be able to get an angle. Invulnerable, let's try and make a dive deep inside of B. Cowboy needs to be there for the cover. Relo needs to win this one. Cowboy's been summoned for this one. The crossfire is perfect! And just like the scoreline, it is perfection. Defense 3-0 victory. And that will wrap up game number 6 of the evening here on Broadcast Gibby. Kickstart's team, done it perfectly.
Yeah, 3-0, flawless from them. They gave us some fantastic team play in that one. They played the cross, they played the trade, and that is how you get it done. As we welcome back in the full desk now. This time, we jump scared you earlier, but this time we are going to bring everybody back in. Mark, I'm going to say it. I think NA have this game down a little bit more than EMEA do.
Pains me to say, I think you might be right. But we know the EMEA teams will go back, reset, and conjure up a massive, massive plan. Let's talk about our last game very quickly before we summarise things up. A 3-0 victory. I feel like the guys from Kick, yes, despite suffering a loss at the very, very beginning there, Whippet, they seem to have get the game. Maybe they needed that loss first just to get a reset. It looked clean. It looked convincing. Even a pistol whip from Relo put it away.
That was honestly a chef kiss moment to be able to win that fight. It was a difficult one, up close and personal, but the biggest thing is they were very, very clear what their vision was on the attacking side. Able to send in those Heinz drones, get room after room information, and the Storm then took that control perfectly. They have slowly but surely grown into this, and I'm very much a fan of seeing how they utilize that map control and utility to take control and just have confidence with the knowledge that they had. Okay, we know this room's clear, we know this position's open for us to take, and they took that map control with very good time efficiency on the offense. I'm very impressed with it, and I think I'm going to echo the point. I think North America has this game a lot more unlocked for the EMEA so far.
Stop teaming up, you two, or I'll bin you off, all right? You lot will be gone. Let's have a quick look at the leaderboard, though. Look, it's convincing. It's a 5-0 victory, with Kickstart taking that win with a 3-0. It does put them into second place. It means Super and Kickstart, guys, are going to be getting a bye all the way through to the semi-finals. We have to see, though, for the quarters, TK, Whips, and K-Mine will obviously have to come back, and they will have an opportunity to duke it out. FedEx, it is a best of 3. Please do not say as well that NA have got it better than the EU, because I might just have to log out and reset for tomorrow.
Well, if you say so, then obviously I can't. But I'm kind of inclined to agree to some degree at the very least, because I think Super and Kickstart, these two definitely shine a lot more than the rest of the teams that we've seen today. If we take these apart, then I'd say actually EMEA has the advantage in this one. I feel like we've seen a more level playing field in EMEA as opposed to this one, and I think it's reflected and mirrored by the overall leaderboard here as well. I think Super has just been. They've just been super, pun intended, from the very get-go. They've just been super fast. They've just been really structured on their defense as well. I was talking about this, the first team that's really, to me at least, from the looks of it, has really had a plan for each map in terms of the setup they want to play. They knew exactly which walls to break, which ones to barricade, where to put their utility, which team to play against on which side of the map as well. And I think that's ultimately what stood out to you as well when you said, wait a minute, they're not even changing lineups. They're not even changing the agents, the characters that are into play here, because they just know what works. They know what works for them. They know what they trained with as well. So I think that's one big takeaway right now. That Super at the moment seems to be a little bit ahead of everyone.
It's dangerous to see as well, FedEx, because they were so cleanly executed. Now, let's not go away. Like, obviously, the NA and the EU guys can go back and watch the VODs, and then we can get a bit of a game plan, FedEx, together, because we are bringing a best-of-3 format, though, first thing tomorrow. Will Super be able to keep that cape flying high, or will teams maybe, I'm going to say similar ties, like I think the Matt's team kind of started to figure out their game plan. Maybe they need a best-of-3 format to put a stop to this clean sweep that Super's putting on the board.
Yeah, I still feel like that Kickstart, and I think that's the biggest difference, still kind of relies a little bit too much on mechanical individual skill. And we saw that in the last game as well, right? Kickstart, he's awakened now, and ever since he has 5 games again in the last game, it's really just gone uphill. But that might not be enough. If you play against a team like Super, which is getting out-traded in terms of utility usage, I want to refer to that one round again, where, yes, they barricaded B, but as soon as that contact happened, you saw immediately 3 blue zone nades. That's even more than the game we saw before. 3 blue zone nades to counter that initial offset of them stacking A. And these kinds of strategies, that's not a coincidence that happened, that we haven't seen from any other team. That's going to be tough to kind of handle and manage, even if you got the mechanical advantage. Once again, it's top-down view, and in direct fights, it might be a little bit more about strategy and team play than it is about mechanical skill. And that point, it's going to become, I think, very difficult for them tomorrow.
Gibson, let's talk strategy, let's talk gameplay, let's talk Cowboy. Oh my days, my man with an M249 backed up into a corner and deployable shield. He knows when to take a fight, but more importantly, also when to run down the clock and back away. We've seen it twice over. He is going to be a force coming into this game.
Yeah, well, Cowboy and Roth, I know for a fact, do play a lot of these, site defense games, these attack versus defender objective-based games. So they have an idea of how to use the clock to your favor, how to set up sites, how to use the utility you have. Because I feel like watching it, and more so in EMEA than in NA, a lot of these players are playing this like it's PUBG, like a shooter, as opposed to it being a site shooter, which is what this game is. And the only thing it really has in common is the universe. It's a completely separate game to PUBG. And I think that the teams in NA have got a much better read of it. And it's the teams that are used to site shooters that are taking the advantage of it. So I want to say that with the likes of Cowboy, with the likes of Roth, They know how to play it. We saw them use utility incredibly well in an earlier game. Hines in particular being used to be the signal for the executes as they push towards site. I think based on what I've seen today, there's them. You know, they're the top 2 in the leaderboard. They're my 2 favorites to win the whole event as a whole. But as much as you talk about Cowboy, I think we have to look at Super's team. They're by far and away the favorites. I said before we started they were my favorites to win the whole event. And they just have the style of game down.
But you see what he does there, mate? He does it all the time in PUBG as well. He kind of reaffirms his point, but if he doesn't get it right, he doesn't reaffirm it and it just disappears into the abyss. But I gotta agree with him, Whippet. I've got to agree with him. Super definitely feels like they've got the game plan locked in. Now they're getting a bye to the semi-finals with a best of 3, but they're going to be taking on the winners between Tekka and the Whelps. I kind of feel, it sounds horrible, I kind of feel like Super's going to be sending it through to the final, but it's that left side of the leaderboard. Who do you think's going to be going through from the quarters to the semi, and more importantly, are we going to see a Kickstart versus Super final?
Well, from my quarterfinal prediction, I think it's going to be K-Mine to make it there, but I think the Kickstart Super Final is just calling to me. I think both these teams, when we get towards a best of 5, they can put on a fantastic show going into it. I think the structure that we see from the Supers team, just because of their experience, again, professional experience in titles like this in their past, it's going to be very difficult to beat, but they're not going to be unbeatable. I do think Kickstart can get the job done in a best of 5 when they have the ability to stretch their legs a little bit in a longer format.
Love it, love it. Will there be an end to Super? Well, we'll have to wait and see. That's it from us today. We've done the EMEA stuff, which was better. No, we haven't. And then the NA stuff a little bit later, which is more tactical, should we say. We'll be back same time, same place tomorrow on all of the channels, both with day number 2, where we are going to kick off both the EMEA stuff with a best of 3, all the way through to a best of 5. And then we'll be back after a quick break to wrap up the NA stuff for the more strategic ending, which might be the Kick versus Super grand finale that these guys are talking about. For one final chance, make sure you get yourself on Steam. Make sure you go to PUBG BlindSpot and go for the demo. Get that downloaded. Maybe you'll be in the chance to be in the invitationals for next time, and hit that wish list on the main game, because you need to know the information when it falls. All the information has been given to you right now. All you need to do, play the demo, and we'll see all you guys and girls tomorrow on the EMEA stream. Peace.